the Jaws, the Urobos, the Yorubas. Um, but I'd like to point you to two concrete documents. So the first is the 1921 Provincial Report that clearly spoke about the difference between the native communities in Plateau State and those that were not native. So the provincial report spoke about protecting native rights in said area, and that all other areas were called alien enclaves. I think that gives us a clear hint that there's a clear demarcation as to the 54 ethnic groups that belong to Plateau State and those that are migratory. Now, um, tin mining, which was quite formidable in the Plateau area, was not just unique to the Hausa groups that came into that area. So the Tarok, the Angas, they all had to leave their said areas and come to the Jos area to do said mining. But the difference was that after said mining, the Tarok and the Angas and all these other ethnic groups went back to their original places of abode. You had a lot of the Jaws who went back, but the Hausa did not actually, and they stayed in said area for a while. And that was why the 1921 ordinance was made. So that was made to basically protect um, the natives from, that dynamic that happened at the time. Um, and then, you did have the creation of settler certificates, which was given basically from the early 30s and 40s for said groups and all of that until time went on. So that was basically what happened in the city areas of Plateau, the mining, and then the protection of the natives in the city area. For the village areas, you didn't have Hausa or Fulani in the native areas. You did have only native people. However, um, there was a sort of native administration setup that um, allowed the Bauchi Emirate initially to administer parts of Plateau, and that was where some parts of land were, carved up for um, for some of the herders, for temporal setup. So the British basically wanted higher taxation and allowed that type of system, seeing as the land was vast in the region at the time. They helped set up also cattle vets for cattle, because at the time the cattle couldn't even come to the middle belt or to the south because of tsetse flies, because of the wet climate, and they couldn't progress to the south. So it was then that you had medicine inventions and hybridization of cattle to be able to move to wetter climes. So this is the period between 1903 and the 50s. That was the policy that happened at the time. But the areas of Plateau never had that problem of militias raiding. Fast forward to the whole settler certificate things to the Babangida administration, where he carved out a local government for settler groups in Plateau State City. They sent a map to the Babangida administration that they wanted this location as a local government, and he obliged against the recommendations of the native people in the Jos area, so the Birom, Afizere, and Aguta. And since then, um, creating a local government for people that were not native, one of the reasons cited by the natives was that specification of a local government map would make them disadvantaged in their communities. But since that local government was carved, I would partially or even totally put that blame on local government creation by the Babangida administration, because it had no basis for that. And since then, in 94 and 98, you did have political issues. And then from 2001, you had militias trying to mop up areas and expand into villages. And then you started seeing foreign militias. In 2004, you did have foreign militias. A lot of researchers like Adam Higazi have written about, um, SMG, assorted rifles being, the proliferation of arms all around the lower Benue. And then you start having that explosion of mercenaries, having jihadi intentions coming into the Plateau area. As at 2004, it did spill over from Plateau to Taraba State, around the Wase area, the lower Plateau area, the called the lowlands, and basically, you have had sacking of villages, you have had all those atrocities. And the government, the state governor has tried a lot, when it comes to policy implementations around that. But I think that the when you are trying to solve these problems, I think it's fair to be quite accurate with the data. So um, what are the letters that these jihadi groups are sending to communities when they attack? They do state the intention to, um, you know, conquer from a jihadi perspective, and these are largely Fulani militias in the area. So that gives you a clear understanding that this is an ethno-religious conflict. Ethnic because you do have Fulani mercenaries, and then religious because they rely on jihadist motivations for, um, uh, you know, coming down to these areas in Plateau. And this is not just unique for Plateau, by the way. It extends to the Taraba, Adamawa, Benue, Nasarawa areas, southern Kaduna. These specific militias and these specific motivation. So if you speak to communities in southern Kaduna, in Taraba, they would tell you about the war cries around most of these attacks, the same letter styles of these groups when they notify communities of their intent to attack and all of that. And I think that the problem around this is that a lot of the ethnic nationalities in the Middle Belt in general have had a problem struggling with colonial policy around land from the colonial period to post-colonial period. And there seems to be this level of entitlement to the Middle Belt lands. And that's why, these issues keep reoccurring because of that inability to understand that. So I'll point us to the Justice Nikki Toby Commission of Inquiry that clarified the issues and stated that the 54 ethnic groups were native to the Plateau area, and other groups that had migrated to said areas were not. And after that, we had the Justice Ajibola Commission of Inquiry that, the whole religious angle to that was a bone of contention, and Justice Ajibola was, a well read Muslim who came to the same conclusion as the Justice Nikki Toby Commission of Inquiry in separating the fact that these groups were native. So I think that in solving this issue, in summary, is that the Plateau State people have to have clear documentation on said areas, because we know that the intent is land grabbing and renaming. So I think one of the solutions is that, when you have clear, lands and survey, ordinances or whatever you'd have that specify said groups, and you can take it all back to colonial times and map out said ethnicities and said regions. It defeats the entire purpose of trying to reclaim communities, because even if you resettle there, it's on record the original inhabitants. A lot of organizations have begun doing that, but it would be good for that to be made official by the Plateau State government in that regard. So yeah, that is a short um, history around the issues that plague both the city areas of Plateau and the areas that are the suburb areas. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Patrick. That was so punctual. Thank you for keeping to time. So like I said earlier, I would be having both speakers and victims talk, right? Because we're giving first-hand experiences, and then we're bringing people who would speak on, the general occurrences. So I'm going to bring one person who is from a local government that was just affected to speak. Sunday Allen, you're going to have 7 minutes to talk, 7 to 10 minutes to talk. What I want you to be doing is please throw more light on the killings in Gol, now renamed Barkiladi. I don't know if you want to also, because now we're talking about land grabbing, and I know we've laid emphasis about the fact that this is beyond a farmer herders attack. We're looking at a classical scenario of people capturing and rebounding lands, right? So I want you to please throw more light on examples of communities where you are from, right? That have been captured and rebound and are no longer owned by the 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 people who have the ancestral claim to the land. And yeah, so just around that, you have exactly 10 minutes. This is 8:07. I don't want to be too strict with time, but then again, we have so many speakers and probably not enough time. So please, um Donks, I think you can start talking now. Meanwhile, please, before Dong starts, please, those of us that are just coming, I have been apologizing. I mean, from the beginning, that we did not have. I could not click on the first space because he kept telling me I couldn't join, so I had to start this one. So please, if you're on now, can you please just tweet the space and um ask them to just join this one, newly. So please, if you can retweet this particular space, it will go a long way. Thank you very much. Join Donks, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name, as she has rightly said, is Dongs Sunday Allen. I come from Gol. Gol is an area that is constitutionally known as Barkin Ladi. That's the local government as recognized by the constitution. But the name of the place is Gol, which is the name native to Biron people, which I am. And we are the ones that partly, almost majorly, stay and inhabit Gol, the area Gol. And I just want to state that I don't think I'm a victim, more of a victim of this happenings than any of us here. Uh, well, I've lost very dear loved ones thanks to a Fulani crisis and all, but doesn't mean that I'm more victim than any of you here. Just to state it straight. So yeah, I don't think in this place I particularly fit in as the victim here. Just to take you a little aback, let me just use my village in particular, like my ancestral home, as a point of contact. So the demography of my village is such that is about 20 minutes from the main town of Birkin Ladi. And on your way to my village, before you find the village, you find a Fulani hamlet. I mean, what they call Ruga. You find it just by the left of the road. Behind my village, that's behind my village, you find another Fulani hamlet. And these people have been there for maybe about nearly a century ago, where this first settled. And these are our lands. I mean, they know, we know them, we know each other. While growing up as a small boy, I used to go to Rugan Fulani in those days to go and take Fura, they know. I know them by name, clans by clans. This Ruga is like a settlement, but they know, we are all aware of the fact that they are settlers, not that they own these places. Um, my village in particular, amongst many others in Barikin Ladi, had been under siege for as long as I can remember, 2003. That was the first time that these people who we know, who we always stayed and cohabited together with, first struck. Yes. Since then, I can tell you my village has been attempted to be displaced about 5 times. I was part of the attack in 2011. I witnessed the attack in 2011, where people who we know followed us with guns and shot at us like I'm looking at you. You are coming to me. I know your name. You are coming at me with a gun. Yes. Um, 2018, 2015, and most recently even 2020. Now this is happening in so many villages across. Now there are 5 districts in Bariki in Goal. I like to use Goal, pardon me. There are 5 districts in Goal, and I can tell you that about one of them, Gashi district, more than half of the lands right now are no-go areas. They are literally no-go areas for our people. They are inhabited by Fulani herdsmen. Yes. And let me set the record straight. There is nothing, the most ridiculous thing about this thing is that the vocabularies they begin to pop up that there is farmer herders clash. That's the most ridiculous vocabulary to ascribe these words with. The other most ridiculous thing is that we look for their trouble and we are cattle rustlers. A very, very ridiculous thing to say. And I can say, I mean, we have stayed on our lands. We know the truth. The truth is that about this war is that there's nothing that can be overemphasized. They have murdered people dear to us unprovoked. My father was shot at and murdered by a Fulani herdsman just outside the door of our house. Um, the next Tuesday to be 5 years. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying this just so that to get sympathy or something. But I'm telling you that what could that man just provokingly have done to incite anything?
Hey, Rita, how now? Good to see you. You can't hear? Oh my God. Yeah, now they just the thing. I think that they shut down the space. I think that all these bigots, all these Fulani bigots online, they probably shut down the space. It's gonna come up again because it's a very important space. They're sharing their experiences and they're telling us what happened. And we have some very important speakers that are going to throw more light on the massacre that happened in Plateau State. So let me just refresh. I know they just shut down the space. I know that they did that. I know maybe they were reporting the space en mass, so they shut it down. Hold on, let me see. It's gonna come up again. I'm very sure about that because these people, I knew it was going to happen. That they're going to come and start look for ways to shut it down. Because that guy was giving his own personal experience. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what happens. Let me just keep. Rita, how now? Has everything? Has your family? Aha, there we go. It's back on. Okay, it's back on. Yeah, it's back on now, so you're gonna be able to hear it. They just put it back. How now? Hi everybody. How my babies? How they doing? My beautiful babies. Good to have you here, Rita, my darling. Yeah, I'm sure they're trying to organize themselves to come back. These people, hey, jokers. We dey here, gidigba. See this Nigeria, it must work, whether they like them or not. We wrestle them to the ground. Hmm. Nonsense and concocbility. Rubbish. Rubbish. All this nonsense wey dem don dey do for centuries dey come. E must end. We no fit continue like this, abeg. Person know to say for a house again.
I don't know why the space crashed though, guys. I
Yeah.
am super duper sorry. I'm
Can
so
you
sorry
hear?
for all of that. I'm
Can
so
you
sorry.
hear? Please let me know if you
Dongs,
can
please,
hear.
if
They're
you're here,
back.
can you just request the mic again so that I can bring you on and you can continue from where you were speaking. I'm so sorry, guys. I am so sorry.
Rita, can you hear? Please let me know if you can hear.
Dongs, are you here?
Okay, thank you.
Dongs, if you're here, please request the mic so that you can continue from where you were.
Please like, or as you come into the studio, please do not forget to like, share. This is a very important history to hear, you know, about the Middle Belt Plateau being part of it. So it's a good opportunity to learn. So please, as you come in, to anyone listening, please like on your way in. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for all the patience. So sorry for the inconveniences. Sorry. I'm waiting for Sunday Allen to join so that I don't want to interrupt his flow or our flow of listening, of course. So I just want him to join so that he can continue. Please, I'm not going to give the mic to many people to speak today. I think we already have a lineup of a lot of people that are talking from the victim side and the speaker side. So there won't be much people. I think we're just going to have to be patient and do more of the listening today. If you have any comments, you can tweet at or just quote the space and tweet. If you have any questions, if you can't hear us clearly and all of that, I think we have a team of people that will be addressing that. But please, we won't be listening to as many people from the audience as we usually do because this is quite a peculiar one. Thank you for understanding. Sunday, are you here? If you're here, please, can you request the mic? Otherwise, I will have to give it to someone else to at least start before you come back on board. So please request the mic if you're here. Okay, I can't see Sunday Allen here. So I think I'm just going to bring up Shillong. I wanted to bring Shillong up after the senator aspirant had spoken. We actually have two senator aspirants. So I don't know if we're aware, but one of the elections in Plateau State was nullified in the last court of appeal. So we have an instance where for Plateau North, because Plateau State has three different regions, or three zones rather. There's the northern zone, the central zone, and the southern zone, right? So the central zone, the northern zone rather, where a village or a local government entirely was attacked. A total of 23 villages now have been attacked. So one of the one of the local governments is under the Plateau North now, and we have the elections were nullified. So we have two aspirants that are running for Senate, and they are both supposed to speak today. One of them has been member before House of Representatives, representing just North slash Basa. The second person has been a lawyer and has been particularly handling some of the land grabbing cases, a very very large or a very very large quantity of the cases have been handled by him. So I think both of them have been in positions where they can speak authoritatively on this issue, and I wanted to bring them up to ask them questions and put them on the hot seat, because I think they are the ones that are best to be on the hot seats right now and tell us what they can, what they have done and what the limitations are. So yes, there are two people that would be speaking. I cannot see Sunday Allen yet, so I think I would just bring up Shillong. Shillong, welcome Shillong. I think you're a speaker. Yes, you are. If Dongs comes up, he will just speak after Shillong. So Shillong is also a victim of the attack. Her cousin, her uncle, and I think her two of her uncles, I think she's in the best position to say it, were killed. She just buried one the day before yesterday. So yes, Shilong, please, you have 10 minutes. I need you to please come from your angle. Tell us what's happening in Mangu local government, right? Tell us about the attacks. I asked Shilong to bring on board one person who was there when the attack was happening, the person who survived and her cousin died instead. I don't know if she was able to do that. So Shilong, please speak on that. And if he's here, we'll probably bring him up after one of the senatorial aspirants has spoken. Also, the Commissioner for Information I think he's here. I just saw his handle, so I'll bring him up. He's going to be in the pipeline. So Shilong, please, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Please confirm that you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. It's very unfortunate the events that have unfolded over the years and recently. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of my family. So I won't be speaking generally about Mangu, even though yes, there are areas in Mangu that's affected me also directly, but particularly I would dwell on the recent happenings at the village in NTV. So as the case has always been, threat letters are usually sent, to these communities, and they are told that they are going to be attacked. And before the attack had happened, when this threat had been received, I have first-hand knowledge from one of the elders in that village that they had reported those letters to security operatives. I stand to be corrected, of course, and then also that officials whom they could reach out to in government office to these threats that were received. So the people sort of set up a vigilante comprising of the strongest men and the youths to take turns, in watching, since they didn't really know when this attack was going to occur. And sadly, there was no response of security from either the military or the police force. And these events unfolded, and I lost my father's elder sister, and Reverend Jonathan of Assemblies of God Church, who is her eldest son, the first son, male son, and then Ibrahim Daluk, who is his younger brother, also lost his life. Sadly, I was saying in a couple of spaces, we buried him without his head. This is how monstrous these people are. And it's not an issue of profiling. Clearly, these people speak the full day, which is peculiar to the Fulani people, as it were. And the attacks are really, really coordinated, because for you to understand a terrain of that area, it means that you must have had guidance. And it's sad to know that when we call for help on instances like that, it has been the case generally in Plateau State. I stand to be corrected. When you call for help, there's really no help. After the injury has been done, that is where help arrives. It is also worthy to note that in this particular village, NTV, people who are from Bokos on the space would agree with me. NTV is directly on the express road leading into Bokos. So there is no excuse whatsoever for most of these communities, like the Butra communities and the rest of them, to say that some of these villages are inaccessible. I find that really, really, really ridiculous. So those are the happenings, that has transpired over time. Kangyang also retweeted something that was posted on Twitter by, I can't remember the handle, about a reprisal attack still going to happen. And we're just so complacent about it. And that attack actually did happen, not just in that area, but in other areas of Bokos. And again, our security has failed to show up when needed. So it then leaves you with the question of the involvement, of the government, the involvement of the security parastatals. And it is also worthy to note, because I have experienced it also firsthand, local communities trying to set up vigilantes for themselves, and they are later on being paraded, and local hunter guns, which they would normally use to protect themselves, are being confiscated. And these people, so it's really, really a sad one. It's been the story over and over and over again. And to surprise you, when the burial was ongoing, these people were sort of gathered in an area, looking and sort of laughing, pointing hands at the ongoing burial. So it goes a long way to say that even the Fulanis that have been with us for a long hand are either providing
Sorry,
shelter.
Silong, did you attend the burial yourself?
Yeah, I was there for the burial.
Okay, that was the day we had that other space that you said you were at the burial. Did you see them pointing and laughing?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So please just go on.
All right. So these are some of the things, and we have land areas that have been captured by these people, and they actually farm on the land currently, and they also partake in our economic activities. So it's really been a sad one, and I think everybody has a story to share and all that. So I'll just yield the mic at this point so we could have other contributions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Shilong. I was hoping Dongs was going to be back. He just sent me a text now saying that he's having a hard time joining. I've sent him the link to join. So if you're here, Dongs, please, could you please request the mic and speak? Otherwise, I'll have to pass you again.
Sorry, Enoch, the brother to the deceased, is still struggling to join. As soon as he does, I'll bring him up, let you know.
All right, thank you so much. I don't know why we have a lot of network issues this night, because I think even the commissioner has been going off and on this space consistently. Please, if he's here, Victor Bello, please, if he's here, that is one of the senators, one of the aspirants for Plateau North, Suleiman Kwande, if he's here, please ask him to request the mic so I can bring him up to speak. Okay, so I have a co-host here, Chima Emmanuel. I wanted him to through a spotlight, or speak like halfway into the space, because his perspective is quite wide, and he's been all over. He's been on Arise and all over the place, talking about the killings, and he has quite a robust perspective. So okay, now before then, I'll just bring on Vicegrad. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, but please, I'll need you to do the proper introduction yourself. They are supposed to help enlighten us. They are an international. I'm sorry. They are meant to help us shed more light on how we can bring more international attention to the Middle Belt movement. I mean, the Plateau State killing particularly. Let's leave the Middle Belt first out, even though we can't separate the both of them because they're kind of interconnected. But throw more light on how we can bring more international attention to the killings in Plateau State. So yeah, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. I have somewhat of connection problems as well, but a short introduction here. We are a team that is based in Central Eastern Europe. We focus on all types of military conflicts, mostly recently about Ukraine and Israel, but the general atrocities that are taking place in Nigeria is something that we have also been focusing on for quite a while. And it feels like the recent mass killings in Plateau State is something that is starting to open up the eyes of some people, because previously you had similar massacres that have been taking place in Nigeria, but for some reason it hasn't been possible to reach the international audience with this type of information. So I think that right now there is a good opportunity for Nigerians to raise their voice and to share their story, because we still see often in international media that they portray that this is only a conflict between farmers and herders. Somehow they're trying to make it sound like this is violence that goes both ways in the same scale. This is something that seems quite obvious to those that have looked into the issue, that this is simply not the case. So my hope is that we have reached a point in which something will change, and some of the media, whether in London or New York or other places, will start reporting more accurately about what is happening. The gentleman that was speaking earlier was talking about the ethno-religious component of these mass killings, and also about how it's not simply attacks by herders, but it's simply a land-grabbing operation. So I think that this is information that needs to reach the world. This is these are attacks that have a certain genocidal character to them. These are definitely ethnic cleansings in which people, they arrive to a region, they try to take over land, they use mass murder either as a way to take over land or to try to scare away people from that land. So it's a very serious matter, and it is something that seems up until now the world has not really paid attention to. But also from what I'm hearing from some of my Nigerian friends, it seems that the authorities in Nigeria have also not been doing as much as they could have to stop this type of violence. It seems that it is in many ways a type of crime which you can get away with. Often there are names, there are pictures of people, sometimes there are even videos of these murders taking place, and the perpetrators are still not punished for what they have been doing. So that is just my short opinion on this. But when it comes to using the moment now to bring attention to the issue, the Nigerian diaspora is naturally one of the large diasporas in the world. I think it's very important for you to organize first here online. X is, of course, a very good tool for this. Spaces are excellent for this as well. So I would advise you to organize as well as good as possible online, but then to also take it out into the real world. Please, if you can organize any protests in London, in New York, in other world cities, so to say, do it. And then we will try to come up with ways of how we can bring attention to this online. Also, whenever you can contact media, you have allies in various groups. There are organizations which bring light to Islamist violence. There are also certain church groups, whether Protestant or Catholic, that bring attention to these matters. It's always worth reaching out to these groups, see which journalists you can find that are allies of yours that will help you spread your message, and make sure that you create these networks. That is everything for me for now, but I will take a seat back and simply listen and learn as much as possible about this, because I intend to stay vocal about it for the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm not sure we got your name. Could you please spell your name one more time?
Adrian from Visegrad.
All right, thank you so much, Adrian. So I think since you're going to hang around for a bit, I'll bring up Chima to speak now. He's the co-host, and Chima, please, I need you to be very vocal about, I mean, as vocal as you were on TV a couple of days back. Yes. So I wanted to bring up one more. Please, Shillong, is the person around? The brother to one of the people who are deceased now, is he around? Shillong, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jane, I think it's a network glitch. I've sent more than 3 people to try see how they can join, but as soon as they can do that, I'll let you know.
All right, Donks, are you here, please? I would have wanted Donks to finish what he was saying, because Chima will speak quite broadly. I don't know if Donks is here. Donks, are you here? Okay. Both okay, I can see one of, okay. So let me just bring on Chima. So Vice Guard, could you please just hang around for him to speak particularly, because I'd like him to speak quite broadly, and then I think later on we can just bring up the others. So yeah, Chima, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear sister, and good evening to everyone on the platform. Our condolences to Shillong and other victims of the many manifestations of insecurity we keep seeing in Plateau State and in other parts of the Middle Belt. This is a region that is quite well known to all of us, and I've been particularly drawn to the issues because I wanted to make sense of the stories that keep happening every now and then. And so about 8 or 9 months ago, it just started as a curiosity. We just wanted to know. So traveling to those communities in Benue State, in Nasarawa State, and in Plateau State, and then in some parts of Kaduna. So we had gone, seen the victims, seen them in the communities, seen the attackers, talked to government partners, talked to military security resources, trying to make sense of what is happening. And I would do say that what we found out in the Plateau and Middle Belt startled me, because I started off with the belief that this was the usual farmer-header clashes that was often reported by the Nigerian media. But what we saw and what Shillong has said and other people know, this is well known by people in the Middle Belt. But outside of that, the complete ignorance is startling, even among the elites and the people who should know. And we found out that what was happening was not anything close to what is being reported. And first is that instead of retelling the stories, since I have limited time, I would like to go to things we can do collectively to try to bring an end to this, or add to the other good things people are doing to try to bring an end to this. So one, I will take you to our laws. So let's go to Nigeria's counter-terrorism laws, the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022. And then we will go to Section 3 of that act. In this act, an act of terror or act of terrorism means an act willfully performed with the intention of furthering an ideology, whether political, religious, racial, or ethnic, and which may seriously harm or damage the country. Section C, 3C, seriously intimidates a population. Section D, seriously destabilizes or destroys the fundamental political, constitutional, economic, or social structures of a country. F, violates the provisions of any international treaty or resolution to which Nigeria is a party, subject to the provisions of Section 12 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. G, involves, causes, or results in an attack on a person's life in the form of a grievous bodily harm or death. Then you have destruction of properties, which may include private place or property, which may likely endanger human life or result in major economic loss. Then it also includes the manufacture, possession, acquisition, transportation, transfer, or use of weapons. So every other thing you see that is carried out by these individuals is already in our law as an act of terror. At least you find that about 7 of their activities are designated by Nigeria's laws as acts of terror. Yet the Nigerian government does not see them as a terrorist organization. So the first step I think we should state, both the governments at the subnational level and then at the national level, is to begin to work with the Attorney General of the Federation and then the President to find ways to designate this as a terror organization, so that it will carry its proper weight, and you give the soldiers the security resources, if they want to do their jobs, the legal impetus to do this. And within this, if this is designated a terror group, the world knows what we're dealing with. So you won't have the issue of a president or a vice president coming to dance on the graves of Plateau victims to tell them to live peaceably with their neighbors. Because what is happening is really, and let me take some time to say this, because when you see the kind of weapons they attack with, you see that people calling on Plateau people to defend themselves are just being insensitive and don't understand what is going on. How can you tell vigilantes armed with pump action rifles, which we know that the effective range of a pump action rifle is 30 meters, but the terrorists numbering about 200 to 250 sometimes in one attack are having arms that can fire at an effective range of 400 meters. They can aim you at from 800 meters and get you. Sometimes they have surface-to-air missiles. Sometimes they have hand-thrown grenades. Sometimes they have military-grade equipment. In fact, in several of the attacks, they fire with 15 mm caliber weapons, which is superior to the 35 mm caliber weapons most of Nigeria's army and security issues work with. So these people have superior firepower in some instances compared to your security resources, let alone local vigilante. So when people tell defend yourselves, it's what? And so this is one. We want to begin the process. And if the government of Plateau is serious about this, we can achieve this in less than 10 months to designate this as a terror group. And this will first, it will have implications on how the security resources deal with it. It will have implications on how the people in government deal with it. It will also have implications on how the media, the international community deal with it. And then that's that on that part. But then if we run into issues designating them a terror group in Nigeria, if you go to, for instance, you go to Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act of America, the Bureau of Counterterrorism under the U.S. Department of State, they have laid down protocols of how to designate this kind of issues as a terror group. So assuming that the government of Nigeria is sympathetic to these terrorists, and I suspect that the previous government of Nigeria is sympathetic to this terrorist organization, but now we have a new change, a new government. While we're still looking at the new government, while we don't have so much confidence in them, there is enough reason to believe that they are not on the same ideological space, that Buhari and Tinubu, for instance, are not on the same ideological space. But then, to do this, you have to gather your evidences. And that is why the training and all of the things we have to do on ground will take some time. For instance, a lot of us have seen the video that circulated, I think 4 days ago, about the recent attack in Bokos. And as touching as that video is, it cannot be admissible in any court because it lacks a lot of, and you know that people have previously taken up these issues to argue it at ICC, at The Hague, and all of these things. And the people we're dealing with, they have terror groups, they have people who are on the ground, but they have a sophisticated PR machine. They also have very sophisticated lobby group who went as far as The Hague to dismiss the pictures coming from Plateau, as saying that these pictures and videos coming from Plateau were taken from Rwanda during the Rwandan genocide. So now you want to begin to train locals and first responders on how to harvest data, how to harvest video, how to put timestamps and geomaps on it, and all of those things. So there is a threshold of evidence that needs to be collected. And as of today, the manner that evidences are collected, yes, you see pictures taken, videos taken, very horrible things done, but then it can, stir public emotions. But public policy people cannot work with that. And so these are some of the things we think we can do. And I'll limit my intervention because we're in a public space to these two. When we get inside, when we have more to tell partners, and I'll get to what the public can do about these issues. So one is to push on two arms, locally designate this as a terror group, and then internationally find ways to designate it as a terror group. And these two can be achieved in less than 11 months if you have a serious government. Number two, I think that the media has been most unfair to Plateau. If you hear what Shillong is saying, if you hear what others are saying, there is no way you can keep reporting this as farmer header crisis. But the media in Nigeria is lethargic, and in some cases are primed to continue to do what they are doing. And that's why it is now us that will tell our stories. It is now us that will train the victims how to tell their stories. It's us that will develop a strategic playbook of strategic engagement of the media, both local media and international media, on how to paint the true picture of what is really happening. I believe that if people know exactly the scope of what is happening in Plateau, there will be, they will be moved to intervene. But then you see that the ignorance at that level is much, and people don't just know what is happening because the legacy media you have in Nigeria are not doing their bits in telling the world what is really happening about that. And I also like what Visegrad, I think, said about development of or engagement of development partners and all of those. So on that, I do say that. And then if you noticed, my dear host, you will see that I've been trying to speak, with bated breath, because there are a lot of things. The people who are attacking Plateau are very coordinated. They have boots on the ground. And from the way they execute, some of them are ragtag people who just misaim and shoot randomly at people. But some of them have sophisticated military equipment training, very sophisticated military training and coordination. And there's a lot of strategy and tact to what they're doing. They don't plan in the open. And so those of us who want to work against them, we also not plan in the open. But what can the public do? I think the public, especially people who are listening to us, have a huge, huge role to play. The ordinary Nigerians, the everyday Nigerians, whether you're from Plateau, Middle Belt or not, we have a role to play. And one of those is to identify credible individuals and organizations working on these issues and find ways to support them. What I've seen is that there are lone voices talking about these issues, and the more they push, once they get to the end of their limits, the advocacy dies. But then if you have credible individuals who are working on this, and people know that these individuals and organizations, not your usual civil society groups, because the traditional civil society platforms are also failing in this regard. But there are people like our dear host this evening, Jane, and others who are working on this issue. We can identify them and find ways to support them to continue with the work that they are doing. And then the second is to stay on the issues until we find closure. I found that the Nigerian social media space has this endemic lack of capacity to stay on issues. We keep jumping from one trending issue to the other trending issue without finding closure on any. Thankfully, we are getting attention today because of the Christmas Eve attacks. But 1 week from now, most Nigerians must have moved on, waiting for the next horrible attack to continue. So there are those of us who will stay on the issues no matter how long it takes, even when the issue is no longer trending. Find those and support them. And if you can, still stay on the issues. Find ways to amplify the work Jane and others are doing. And when you hear 1 million man marches prior to the elections, and I ask the people who are organizing this, and would have engaged at the highest some of the times, not all, why are you not engaging that much with this issue? And so you find out that the advocacy appetite of many Nigerians is on a large scale unbundling or change of government, which is good. But then you can pick issues like incessant killings in Plateau and stay on it, that we can force the hand of the government to go to Plateau, even if they don't want to. Nigerians can organize 1 million man marches towards this issue. Nigerians can mobilize and support these issues, because what you have is that maybe a community is attacked in Bokos, 300 or 200 women or 50 people come out to protest for a day or two, and then they can, record it with their mobile phones and all, and then that's it. But then if the rest of us come to join them to do this, I believe that it will make more sense. So there are three-pronged approaches as I summarize. One is designation of what is happening as a terror group, to give legal instruments that will start them. Not that if you designate them, they will go. if you designate them, Nigeria has been fighting Boko Haram now for more than 10 decades. There are elements of compromise within that. But at least you want to give the military the resources, the legal instrument they need to engage. As of today, the Nigerian government treats this as two fighting. And so that is why all your military responses and government responses is aimed at, trying to separate two people who are fighting. No, two people are not fighting. One person is an aggressor here. There is a religious agenda, there is an ideological agenda, and there is a political agenda. Take, for instance, a lot of you do know that Plateau has a lot of, used to be big on mining during the days when Nigeria was big on iron ore mining and all of those things. And if you see the communities that they take over the lands, they are strategic places, places that are close to the body of water, places that are close to mining sites, whether active mining sites or previous mining sites, places that are, so the people come in, attack a village and settle there. Because what you think will happen was that people will come, attack a village and the villagers can go back. But no, that's not what is happening. People come in, attack a village, displace a population violently, and occupy there. And then you would think that they will stay where they have captured. They now move up again to attack another place, terrorize them, and move up to. So this is a land grab attempt, and it has some religious undertone, because if you ask the community, what do you hear when they attack? You hear them chanting of these, religious chants before they start attacking people. And usually, when they have enough time, they will cordon off the communities. They will, chase out everything with guns. And when they have time, they start butchering with knives. Anytime you see them kill with bullets, they don't have time. If they have time, they leave the guns and start butchering. So this is what is really going on in Nigeria. And the media is insisting on reporting this as former head of party. So first, designate them as a terror group. All their activities are in our laws as an act of terror. And it also contravenes international laws and treaties. Number two, we now begin strategic engagement of the media to find ways we can use the media to amplify our stories. And then we also have to find development partners, including ordinary Nigerians, international organizations, local organizations who are sympathetic and who are genuinely committed to the cause of not just Plateau people, but Middle Belt and humanity in general. Let me stop here and then bring up other platform guests. Thank you so much, Jane.
All right, thank you so much once again, Chima. Thank you so much for that. So just before I think Donks is back. Yes, Donks is back. He's one of people from Gwal that was speaking. So I'll bring him shortly. But before that, I want to highlight something, please. And I think it's I think it's a loophole, the thing they found. That there's a difference between us advocating for the lands to be returned back to the owners of the land and the religious perspective that this is seeming to take, right? Plateau State has indigenous Muslims. I'm saying this categorically, and I'll give examples. The former the Deputy Senate President, the late Senator Ibrahim Manto, I think he died of COVID some careless 1 or 2 years ago, was a Muslim. The current member representing Pangshin Kanke Kanam, Right Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, is a Muslim. I don't know if he's here yet, but Yahya Kwande, I'm sorry, Suleiman Kwande, I keep mixing his name with his father's name. Suleiman Kwande is a Muslim. He's the former member representing Jos North / Bassa constituency, federal constituency, was a Muslim, right? Amongst others. The list can go on. So we have indigenous Muslims, and I can call the local governments that they belong to and their tribes, each of them. They belong to local governments, they have tribes. None of them is not indigenous to this state. So this is not us screaming for a particular religion and giving them a tag. This is us saying that as a people, that is why I specifically wanted Shillong. That's why I actually invited Honorable Yusuf Gagdi. We spoke with one of his people this morning, and we even spoke with him. But he said he was going to be occupied. He had a couple of weddings to attend, and he had a program for this evening. So he said he had to be excused. However, he said in the coming weeks, if we schedule another one, he wants to be there to speak. So I'm pretty sure if we're organizing another space towards next week, which will be next year, hopefully, he would be online to speak. I wanted him to speak, and that's why I'm bringing Suleiman Kwande to speak as well, because that's second, and that's why I am bringing Shillong's cousin, because I need to highlight and emphasize the fact that there's no religious polarization here. Nobody is calling out to religion to say we hate you, we don't want you. For some reason, that is the direction that some fanatics have chosen to take in order to gaslight some of us. But I honestly didn't want to address this because I felt that it would be giving it relevance. But I'm doing it for the sake of those who don't even understand or have not been seeing the trend or have been wondering what was going on. What we're doing is saying that initially, and I hope Dongs can throw more light on this, places like Mahanga in Goa local government, I don't know if Lambert is here as well, but yes, places like Mahanga in Goa local government was predominantly owned by indigenous people of Plateau State. As we speak right now, it is no longer them that are there, right? And so when the former member, Honorable Peter Gwendeng was on, I don't know if his channels or one of them, a couple of days back, he categorically said, we know where they stay. They have weapons and they keep them there. If the military comes to me, that was him now speaking, I can take them there, point at the direction and tell you this is where they reside. They have weapons there. This is where they come from. This place belongs to us. We still have people that can point at those villages today and say, this is where I used to live when I was a child. People that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, that can tell you, I owned some of the houses. It's even so bad that some of these places, they just come and replace the zinc and then start living there. I think someone spoke on that too, on this. Chima spoke on it, I think, a couple of days back. And one of our members, as well, went on TV to talk about it. So we have instances where they just come and remove when they either set fire or evacuate, just change the zinc literally and start living there. And in some instances, what they do is attack and rebound. So we're not categorizing any religion to say in this religion we hate them. We have brothers from the states who are from this state that are Christians, that are Muslims. If anything, some of our forefathers even used to be pagans. So for any reason, we're not polarizing any religion to say that we hate them. I'm saying this categorically, that we don't hate any religion. What we're saying is, as a people, we have ancestral lands. And if it is a farmer-herders clash, so let me give an example. We have instances where people clash, whether it is called court clash or individuals clashing. They come and they kill you and they go. But killing and occupying the land is a different thing entirely. If it is farmer-herders clashing, you will hear that they kill 10 people and that will be the end. Why are our villages being occupied? So all what we're saying is this: those lands are our ancestral lands. If you claim that the land belongs to you, provide evidence that the land belongs to you. And by all means, if you bought the land for any reason, please, you're welcome to stay. But if you don't have any evidence, it means the land does not belong to you. How did you acquire the land? Someone said on a space a couple of days back that, it's possible for someone to come and see a large plane of land and they start occupying. Nigeria Constitution allows anybody to come and occupy a large plane of land. How do I have documents to that last plane of land that you don't have documents to, and you're now claiming that it is now your own? And how is it that some of us can lay claim there and say, or someone else can lay claim there and say, this house was my house? I still have documents that say the land, the house that you're living in belongs to me. So it's all we're asking. We're not even asking for revenge. We're not even asking anybody to come and, honestly, that would have been the easiest thing to ask for. But what we're asking for is justice. Return back the lands to the owners of the land. People is why we have internally displaced persons till today. If you enter the IDPs, we have NGOs that come to IDPs, international and national and local NGOs that go to IDPs. Where do these people belong? That's the question we've all been asking. If they are not being is why they are called displaced, because their lands have been collected from them. So if you enter an IDP today, if you enter the IDP, the ones that are in Barkin Ladi, the ones that are in Mango, the ones that are in every place, and you ask them, all of you come and go and point where you used to live, you will see where they will point at. The IDPs are getting too much. They are not goats or cats or dogs. They are human beings that had their houses. And they currently live in IDPs. Why? Because their lands have been collected. Their house, they can no longer live in their houses. And those localities and communities, people now live there. So it's a very, very practical. I've been to at least 3 IDPs on the plateau. So they are practical cases. They're not us just claiming that you will see the human beings in the IDPs in their hundreds that will tell you, see where I used to live. So I'm just giving that as an example, just to clarify that there's no religious undertone whatsoever to these. And among ourselves, we know that that there's no religious undertone. So whoever wants to take that as a religious undertone to go and form that we are trying to hate on a religion, there's no such thing as that. So
So Jane, can I help you here, please?
Yes, please.
So for you to see the picture you've painted now, in Mangu local government area, where Shillong comes from, where I've, in fact, we were jokingly talking this afternoon. I said, you have to give me a local name. And she says, well, when we are done with this fight, we can get to a local name. Mangu local government alone has 4 IDP camps and 12 distribution centers. In one of the IDP camps, there are 4,000 households that has 7,000 individuals in that IDP camp. And the last time a prominent politician went to visit the plateau, this particular IDP camp got 76 bags of rice and 7650 kg bags of rice for 4,000 households. The day they were distributing this rice, each household, not individual now, each household got a cup of rice, and they have to bring in soldiers to start managing the crowd so that they don't fight over cups of rice for a household, not for an individual. 1 cup of rice, right? So there is a huge humanitarian disaster going on. And in the same Mangu local government, there are places where you see someone has started a foundation of a building, and then these people invade, attack, and then they complete the building and they live there. Other places, they pull it down completely with dynamite and explosives, and they build something close to it. And so this is what is going on. But for you to see that they enjoy tacit support of a lot of people in government. And this is why we put in everything we had to postpone Nigeria's census. Because if you look at the way Nigeria was going to conduct the last census, if you noticed, it was not just in a population census, it was a housing and population census. And then if you look at MPC guidelines, you will see something that is insidious, because all those attacked communities and houses that they demolished, NPC will not be counting them. But the new settlements, NPC will be counting them. So people come into a community, attack, displace people, take over their properties violently, and NPC says we are going now to count and officially gazette anybody we meet in any house as the owners of the place. And then this will be an official government gazette. So that next time when you are saying that, oh, they don't own this land, they will pull out a federal government gazette to tell you. So you see that it is beyond the military campaign. There are people that protect these people at high level who are also working out our public policies to suit the military conquest that is going on the ground. One more on this before I yield the mic back to you. And that was why I'm quite happy that we were able to postpone the Nigerian census. But then the evil day was just kicked down the road. I think Nigeria is planning to do that census in November of 2024. If we don't work hard to correct those modalities, then what will happen in November is just now that those lands that have been acquired by conquest will now be legally given to the people who acquired those lands by conquest as a result of federal government official gazette. So that is that on that. So our work on the census continues even with greater zest. I will say one more thing. You see that when I'm just, trying to limit my words here, but you see that let's continue. So I will yield the mic back to you. Thank you.
What are you trying to say that you're hiding?
Let's continue. I will yield the mic back to you, Jane.
I'll come back to you because there's something you said here that I'll bring Zari. So Zari Yusuf, we spoke extensively, well, not extensively, but briefly. I think the voice note is still there. I've not even responded to it on the confab, which was the conference that Goodluck Jonathan had set, right? I also know that the president set up a restructuring when he sent his speech, for the late governor who just died a couple of days back. May he so rest in peace. He mentioned 2 things, and I'll come back to that because you mentioned something and Zari had said something. So I think I'll bring it up here when we come to the way forward, because he mentioned something about restructuring, the confab by Goodluck Jonathan and all that. I see Zari already requested the mic. Zari, you're now a speaker. So welcome. I would come back to you in a short while. My speakers, those who are speakers now, Patrick Anum, Zari, Vice Grad, Plankarts, just in case you have anything to say, you can please come into my DM and then I would I would call you out. If any other person has the mic, wants the mic that I had reached out to earlier, and I have not seen, please just send me a DM on my Twitter, and I would call you up. But I'm rejecting every other person who wants to talk, because today I think we should just do the listening and let everybody tell their story, because I feel that for a very long time the world has been telling our stories and twisting the narrative, and it is not fair. It's not fair because, like you mentioned now, people are homeless. People who ordinarily were farmers and were farming. Plateau State is fertile. I kid you not. I was on a space this morning, and from where I was staring, I was a farm with grapes, with strawberries, with apples, with mulberries, with purple cabbage, with white cabbage. If anybody comes, people that came to visit me during, all I did was just give out vegetables and fruits, because I did not know what else to do. Silver and gold have I not, but vegetables I would give. That's all I kept doing. No chin chin, no, oh well, there was chin chin and meat, but just be taking strawberries and mulberries and grapes and be going, because it's all I have to give you. The middle belt is fertile. Plateau State is a fertile ground. So these people are used to farming. There was a statistics that I've forgotten the NGO. I've been reaching out to the person to remind me of the name, because it came out 3 years ago that Bokos local government alone can feed the whole of West Africa. Currently, Bokos farms potatoes. I was given an instance when I went to Lagos early this year, sometime around this year, and I ordered chips at a restaurant. They said 7.5, and I sarcastically said, that's one bag of potato in just now. And I mean, they all laughed, but I meant it. How would I buy a plate of chips for 7.5 when that is how much bag? And next time I'll just buy the bag and go and fry in Lagos. So I'm just trying to let you understand that these are not poor people. They're not hungry. They're not starving. These are people that had lands. It's very uncommon, and I think it's one of the reasons why Shoprite will not even thrive in Jos. They're still wasting time to have Shoprite in Jos, because I don't know who will buy their vegetables. Almost every house it's normal that every house in Jos has a couple of vegetables behind, spinach, carrots, green beans. If you want to cook here, you just go behind your house and plug stuff. It's when I left Jos that I said seeing people saying that you go and shop for vegetables. Why? When it's just some even grow without you even planting them. You just go and plug spinach. If people are here, Middle Belt, Benway, they will testify. All you have to do is go and plug. Some even grow without you planting. Pawpaw, name any of the fruits, mangoes. They are in abundance in the Middle Belt. We're not starving. So nobody is even asking anybody to come. So when they come and say which minister, which senator, who has given 1,500,000,000, we don't even want the money. We're not starving before you came. We're eating healthy. I mean, proper food, rice, call any of it. We're farming everything. So it's annoying because people that were living their lives normally are now in IDP camps. He just said 4,000 households. Imagine how many internally, and ask yourself now, as you're listening to this space, where are their lands? Who is occupying their land? The 4,000 households that he has said he has witnessed, who is on their land now? So when we say communities are out there that have been that have been encroached into, you understand what we mean, because there are IDP camps all around the place. People that were living normally are now all over the place starving, basically. Donks, please, you can speak now, and then I'll go back to the other issue.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everybody. Again, and I'm sorry for not keeping up with the pace, and I don't even know where I stopped. Do I just start all over again to see what I can see within the limited time I have?
Oh no. So what I want you to just do is please highlight if you can, maybe names of communities that have been encroached into in Gaul specifically. Chima mentioned some that are in Mangu. So names of communities in Gaul that have been encroached into, what the current situation is in Gaul, which is what you all call Barking Ladi, but the original name is Gaul. So yeah, places that have been occupied there and the current situation. Thank you.
I think okay, fine. That's fine. Okay, so Goal has been. I can't give you statistics now like this. In fact, I mean, who gives statistics? Who takes time to take statistics when he's being chased after? So, but what I know for sure is that I mentioned earlier, there are 5 districts in Goal, in Barking Ladi. I can tell you for free, Gashish district, one with so many. In fact, to even say Gashish, you don't even need fertilizer to farm maize. You don't even need fertilizer to farm anything. You just go plant whatever you want to plant and it grows. Literally everything grows. Go also has the Kura Falls where electricity is generated. Nesco, for people that are domiciled in just, you know, the Nesco is usually is like the only other private electricity generating company. Now Gashish, I can tell you for free. If you don't have mind, don't even tow the path. Don't even go. About 60% of Gashish right now is inhabited by Fulani herdsmen. The famous Mahanga that people continue to hear. In fact, we jokingly say, on the other day I was married and we jokingly say, if you want to die now, if you want to commit suicide, just go to Mahanga. Like it's how bad it is. This is our land. This is the land that our ancestors gave to us. And today you cannot go to Mahanga. Mahanga spans from part of Gashish into Riom local government, which is the a neighboring local government. You cannot go to Mahanga. That's one. Come to Rop. Rop is like that's my district. It's the largest district in Gold. Currently, in the recent attacks, we have boundaries with Bokos. Now the boundary villages are the ones that were attacked in these recent times. Tenti, you have NTV, and then even behind you have Hurum. I think about 4 villages in Breaking Light that I know of. Now, come to my very, very, very immediate neighboring village, my neighborhood, if I may say, from 2018, 5 villages were displaced. 5 of these villages, Jong, Lobiring, Rawuru, Rayiri, I mean, 5 of them. Only my village stayed back. And at that time, what happened was that when we saw that this was happening, they now sent away women, children, and the elderly to the IDP camp in Fan, the other district in Barkin Ladi, where they had stayed. Then men and people that were young youths basically stayed behind. And we did, it's not like we have all the weapons that these people do, but we stayed and we were keeping vigilant. We were keeping vigilant morning, afternoon, evening. It was so bad that my cousin was telling me, before you go behind, like to go to ease yourself, like you have to just look. It got so bad that they developed codes of how they would talk in the village so that you are not sure whether the enemy is between you and your neighbor. Like that's how bad it is. I want to just give you the situation. 2018 till today, these 5 villages that were successfully displaced are still finding. It's now that they're trying to come back. You find just 1, 2, 3 households just trying to come. Sometimes they come farm during the farming season and then go back to inside the IDPs, and some of them who were able to relocate into Jos have relocated. Now that is sorry situation. Today I can tell you that the place where the palace of our traditional ruler stays, his village, Lobiring, is not even a place you can just wake up and say I'm going, because to go there you have to pass through. I don't know if I would say a wilderness. I mean that's like, trust me, you wouldn't even wake up and see you are going there. Before you go there, usually you need to go with a security personnel, maybe the vigilante, or if you people are going, you will just gather yourselves who have common interest for that day. You gather yourselves, find like 5 vehicles or 6 vehicles, then you'll be able to go as a convoy with security, of course, following you, because you can't just wake up and say I want to go to Lobiring. Trust me, Lobiring from my village is 20 minutes or 30 minutes distance. Like if you use what now? If you use a vehicle. So I'm telling you that even to come to my village today, for people who told the path of Mangu, Berkeladi, Mangu Road, you would know that after I leave Berkeladi town, then comes the hills. At once upon a time, nobody dared follow that road. People going to the southern part, central and southern parts of Plateau would rather follow the other road that the former governor built. But this road from Maraban Jama'a, for people who know Maraban Jama'a, going to Mangu, nobody dared follow the road because people were unsure that they are going to survive the night. But I'm telling you that our people in these conditions stayed behind, in the hunger, in the rains, in everything. People were going out risking their lives. People have died, people have lost their lives in the process. Today, 1 person was killed, 2 people were killed. I cannot begin to recount the number of people that I know that died. One of which, let me just mention, the former head of civil service of Plateau State, late Moses Gom. So this is somebody who lived his life despite all he had attained in the village, and he was always vigilant. He was always going out in the night to join the youth to secure the town. The night that he was killed, the evening he was killed, about what now? 2017 October. They came, Fulanis came, people he knew, they greeted him. He asked after their parents. And then his wife owns a provision shop. They now came and said they needed to buy coke. She now went to bring the coke out. Before, that was the last thing she remembered, opening the fridge. Bro, like, they killed him, shot him, and slaughtered him like a goat. Slaughtered his neck, slaughtered his hands. You know how they slaughter goats to be transported? That was how they slaughtered him. On the eve in October in 2000 and one of the days in October 2017. And
please, is his wife still alive?
Yes, she's very much alive.
Please, I would personally want to reach out to her so that she would probably, if anybody can reach out to her that has Twitter in one of our spaces, I would like her to come and tell this particular story, because I'm trying to see a way that people who have survived this would come and speak about it by themselves. It's no longer they told me. Let's have some of them. So if you can please reach out to her, I think one of these days, on probably next week's space or something, if we have anyone, hopefully we should gather a good number of them, despite or regardless rather of their religion, to come and speak about it. So Shillong, please, I would also need to reach out to the person who is supposed to speak today. I really want him to speak today. I really, really want him to speak today. But Donks, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, her own saving grace was the fact that she just because of the gunshot, she just fell behind the refrigerator and like she fainted, and that was her own saving grace. Otherwise, all the people in the shop were murdered that night, and it was a very bloody night for us. 2 years later, in 2019, I told you, my father just stepped out of the door thinking, I mean, it was just a day after New Year, in 2nd of January 2019. He thought that what happened was they had apparently attacked a bar and had shot people. Then on their way going away, he now thought it was all these knockouts that they play during New Year time. He just stepped out of the door, stayed outside for whatever reason. I mean, I just feel like it was his day to go. Came back, called out to my younger brother, said, "Bring my phone." My younger brother came out outside, met him, gave him the phone. Immediately, my younger brother entered inside the room, literally just entered the parlor. That was it. We had gunshots just outside our door. And that was how my father was murdered in cold blood by Fulani headsmen. So when we begin to see Fulani killers.
Sorry, Dongs. I forgot to mention earlier that Dongs is also a victim because his dad was killed. And I remember because two years ago, he just messaged me and said, "How far?" I said, "What's up?" Said, "My father was shot." Shot how? Where? They're taking us to less than 13 and my father has died. So yes, Dongs is a victim of somebody. His dad was killed. It's not that they took it. You can hear him tell the story here.
So I mean, so I come and someone tells me that we are being killed because we are cattle rustlers, or we have clashes. I mean, what clash could someone possibly have on the farm that would warrant murder? I was telling someone the other day, I said, have you sat down and imagined the finances involved in these most recent attacks? You know how much it costs to get one AK-47? One, I'm telling you, not less than 100 AK-47 are required for this kind of operation. You know how much it costs to get one bullet? Try to make inquiries, and I can tell you not less than 10,000 bullets. Do you know how much it costs to get the Bajaj that they use to come to transport themselves? How much fuel? The amount of arms and ammunition and weaponry that these people brought for a 48-hour, who feeds them? Fulanis have the cows, but I'm telling you, it's not money gotten from cows that will buy all these ammunition. And then, how do they even get access to it? Plateau is central in Nigeria. Where do these people pass to? Even in central, Bokos is in central Plateau. Barkin-Ladi is in central Plateau. These are not even outskirts. These are not even border towns. These are towns in the heart of Nigeria. How do these weapons of this magnitude and of this financial cost get to the center of everything without notice? Yet every day we are on the media seeing they blocked people with drugs. I mean, they are that efficient. Wow, I never knew. But I mean, these are not things you can put in your pocket and pass with. They are heavy. Have you tried to, next time you see a military man with a gun, try to collect it. Then you know how it costs to procure these things and bring them to this place. And where do they store them? Where do they store them? Year in, year out, story. It's so sad that today I will tell you, this person, a maternal cousin, in 2018 when our village was attacked, he saw the person that shot his leg. He has lost a limb today. He knows the person. In fact, they meet inside town. Do you understand? On the day, I would always ask him who did it. The day of elections, because the Ruga that is behind my village, they come to vote for during elections in my own village. I am telling you, the day they came, he pointed, see the person that shot me, see him there, sitting down, waiting to vote. We are not even saying these things like we are not lying. This is things that are happening in our communities, and these are things that continue to happen every day. And God forbid, they will continue to happen every day until there is a deliberate disruption of the status quo that has for long come and domiciled in our lands. It's a very sad thing that we have to come and call out our fellow Nigerians like this. These ones, in particular, I mean, we've heard that people come from, they are foreigners from elsewhere. These ones, I'm telling you, are people that we had lent our lands to them for them to stay. And I'm sorry, just to say, I mean, there are Fulanis that are cultures that know and acknowledge. Today we have them that farm. They come, they meet the owner of the land. They say, sir, please, I want to farm in your land. How do I do it? They pay something. They pay rent for the land. I can tell you there are those ones. So please, when we begin to give this outcry, we are not gaslighting anybody. This has nothing. I've not mentioned Muslims. I've not mentioned Muslims here. I've not mentioned Fulanis as a whole. I'm saying that the ones that live with us, this is what they have been able to do. I can be able to point out to you in 2011 during the attack. These were the people that surrounded this guy in particular and murdered him. In 2018 during the attack, these were the guys that murdered this one. Like we turned and looked at them and we knew who were chasing us. These are people that they come to our villages because they don't have a shop in their hamlets. Come to our village to buy stuff. Exactly what happened when they killed the head of civil service of blessed memory. I mean, these are things that continue to go on and linger on. And I can tell you, this is not just in my village. This is what is happening across the whole local government. And across, right now, it has escalated. It is across northern central parts of Plateau. And I'm telling you, this thing would, after Jos, what next? What happens? You understand? It's a question of, I mean, all of us are as much victims as I am. Today, people are crying in Bokos local government. We don't know the magnitude of pain they are having to go through. But trust me, I am much victimized as they are. And I want to appeal to you, especially for most of us that come from other parts of the country. When you keep quiet to genocide, I'm sorry, excuse me. When you keep quiet to genocide, when you don't speak out for genocidal acts, trust me, it's going to be you sooner or later. You don't know where you meet with people. You don't even, I mean, Fulanis are everywhere nowadays. Like, I'm not saying that Fulanis, anywhere they go, they cause havoc, no, but I'm saying that the tendencies for you to meet the bad ones would be there. I'm not saying that we are all exclusively good people. No, there are bad people everywhere. No, there are bad people everywhere. But the truth is that when something has happened like this, call it out unequivocally. And I'm appreciative to Jane and the co-host for this platform to be able to call it out for what it is. These people want to grab our lands, especially for us in Gul. Let me tell you something interesting. These parts of Bokos and Gul that has been attacked. Let me tell you an interesting thing. We are a mining people. We are a mining community. We mine tin. Trust me, the whites didn't take all of the tin. There's so much tin that continues to be discovered every day. And I can tell you, agriculture is our being, we can never be sing about the rich agricultural lands that we have. But let me tell you another thing. We have gold and we have tin in very commercial quantities that, trust me, it can change the fortune of Plateau State to wherever you want to take it to. They know, they acknowledge it. In fact, the funny thing that right now, in Barking Ladi, if you go, we mine tin together with Fulanis. We mine tin together with Fulanis. Now they know that they are tin. In fact, this place that we attacked were literally marked. Trust me, most of the inhabitants were waiting for the new year probably to go and see how they can start mining tin. You understand? But there's so much tin. Now when they pursue from the land, they would comfortably mine this tin and empower themselves alone. I don't know if you understand. So this thing goes beyond. This is even economy. Our economy is crippling, and I don't think this thing. It's not like we have use for tin here as now in Plateau. Tin is being exported to other parts of the world, to China, to Asia, and even Europe right now. So it's crippling for us here. The economy is going down. I mean, it's not even about survival now. It's about thriving. We can't even survive not to talk of thrive. And it's quite unfortunate. I think I'll stop here so
All right,
that
thank you very
some
much,
other
Don.
people talk.
Thank you so much, Don, for sharing your story. Speaking of tin mining, I'd like to read the message. I would probably tweet it later in after the space because I received this message by exactly 2:14 p.m. and it was from someone that is in government that sent it to me to help broadcast. And I'm reading directly from my WhatsApp. It says, okay, I want this to be sure my mic was on. Breaking news: the Fulani herdsmen are now having a field day mining at the moment at villages. As villagers rather desert their homes in Bokos. Reports reaching this medium have it that the armed Fulani herdsmen are at the mining ponds deserted by locals in Deres and parts of Butura. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Butura in
Yes,
Bokos, Plateau State. Eh?
Butura in Bokos, yes.
Okay, all right. So Butura in Bokos, Plateau State, where over 23 villages were attacked with over 200 lives lost, with properties worth millions. Is Guza also part of the reason for the attack? The government should please immediately put a halt to illegal mining in brackets Guza by sending operatives to sack the criminals. So I received this message by two. Sorry, let me just go back. 14:14. Yeah, that's 2:14 p.m. Today. And the funny thing is that this is what someone I had sent a message to the night when Bokos Mangu were attacked. Some broadcasts were being sent to say, oh, they received letters, just like Shilong had mentioned earlier, received letters that they were going to attack these places. And I forwarded it to him, saying, have you seen this? He said, yeah, they had seen it too, and they are working on it. What are you doing about it? Of course, they will tell you it's security and they cannot, it's confidential. I really have been trying to call, I've been going off and on because I keep trying to call the commissioner for information. I really want him to come on board and tell us and answer those questions because I wanted to specifically ask questions, about all of these because I had forwarded these messages to say, see what's up. It was the next morning that I woke up and heard that 125 or 120 initially were killed. The Bokos killing that happened day before yesterday, it was on Twitter. People mentioned that there were letters being sent that they're going to kill them. They should evacuate, or the ones that could evacuate. And yesterday we woke up to hear that they had killed people in Bokos. Today there are still letters that are going around, and we wake up tomorrow and hear stories. So it's not even a matter of if it is a farmer headers clash. Why would you want to notify your enemy that you're coming to come and kill them? You want to come and revenge now because of course it's an attack. And if it's an attack, why occupy my land? I keep asking that question. If you're using logic to say it's an attack, then if I have a clash, if you and I have a clash, you come and beat me and go now. Why are you staying in my house? Next thing is my neighbor's house, or the next thing is the entire community. How is that even possible? And please, I'm reiterating here again because there's need to do that. Nobody, like Dong said earlier, is profiling any religion or ethnic group. Good, Patrick. So I want Patrick to come on board and come and talk on because somebody asked and they've been asking what if it was that we had rustled some of the cattle, and I don't want to be doing that to speak, so I'll bring on Patrick. Patrick, please, you have 5 minutes to speak on this because hold on, let me just read the topic or read the question rather. Can it be reprisals for cattle rustling? So, Patrick, can you please speak on that briefly? You have 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I would say no. It's not. That's not what this is about. And the first reason I'll give for this is this: when if your cattle is being rustled, why are you changing the name of said community? So, if I steal your cow, wouldn't the wouldn't the response be compensation for said cattle? Wouldn't wouldn't attacking the members of that community, wouldn't it be limited to that? What's the relationship between renaming entire communities and taking possession of them. That has no relationship with cattle rustling. And this accusation goes way back. If you are very conversant with this problem, you would remember that in the early parts of the Fourth Republic, a lot of the communities in the Middle Belt have been accused of that. If you look at the reports from the former governor of Benue State, George Akume's period, Darius period, you'd see a lot of that. And, a lot of even communities in the Middle Belt used to buy it at the time. And, when they start getting attacked, they realize, even communities that have had no relationship with the Fulani. So in just between Plateau State, you have 54 ethnic groups, and, some ethnic groups do have that, that conflict, that relationship where Fulani communities or Fulani herders do pass. But there are certain communities that don't have that relationship. So why are those ones getting attacked? That's the first issue. Now, the second one is that, in the early periods of the Buhari administration, the issue and the killings in Benue State intensified. And when when they were discussing, when they were dialoguing for peace, one of the conditions that were given by representatives from the Fulani groups was that they be recognized as natives. And the issue is, if your cows are being rustled, how does that relate with you being recognized as a native of said area? It makes no sense. If cattle is being rustled, then the discussions would be around compensation. And you see, this ties into the third point I would make. We are talking about years of structures put in place for conflict resolution. So for hundreds of years, there have been interactions between communities of pastoralists and ethnic nationalities from the Middle Belt with concrete dispute resolution mechanisms employed by various traditional structures. So the question is, why is it now that everything has crumbled? Why is it now that those mechanisms suddenly are unable to work? And why is it that one of the requirements for peace to reign is for you to be given native status in said areas? That is another one. Now, another point is that when a lot of the attacks are taking place, if it's cattle rustling, the attackers would not be issuing jihadi war cries. When you stay in a lot of I don't know about a whole lot of you, but if you have seen the Fulani clans, the ones that handle the cattle, they are neither Muslim, they are mostly pagan. So you would have to explain the relationship between those communities and jihadi war cries, letters given to communities in the Middle Belt having jihadi rules of jihad engagement where
Patrick, sorry to interject here. Do you have a way that we can reach out to anyone for those letters? I was in a meeting surprisingly 2 days ago, 27th anyways, with a couple of elders, traditional elders. I have another one with them in a couple of days' time, and I'm hoping to meet the Bungom of Dos with regards to this. But do you have any way that we can get our hands on the letters that have been sent? It's very, very important, because when I'm speaking, I would love to provide evidences of the things that we're saying. Is why I said the woman that was killed, the woman whose husband was killed, should be brought on board. She cannot speak English. She will speak it in whatever local dialect is her dialect, and people will hear her say it, and she would explain whatever happened, and anybody that can translate should do it to us to listen. But I want the stories to be told from the horse's mouth to the people. So do you know of any way that we can get our hands on those letters, please? Because we've been emphasizing letters and we haven't given anyone yet. So is there a way we can get our hands on them?
So like I said before, if you remember the attack of the Irigwe community,
yes,
that's the most prominent one I do remember.
Okay.
The Irigwe elders did share a lot of that, and I got them at the time, but with
Irigwe, that is Miango,
yes,
Basa local government.
But at the time, the attacks were quite significant and the death toll, and you don't want to be seeing those type of things, at the time. But I do believe that if you reach out to the elders of the Irigwe, those from that extraction, because it made the papers. I don't know if you remember that. So that would be one place to start, and then we can start with the communities in Mangu, getting that, and then we can put that together. But it's immediately an attack happens, and you are seeing the videos of the bodies and all of that. You usually see those communications in those videos, at the time. So I think one of the first steps is to watch out for that. Yeah. So let me just round off with saying this, that the government is quite aware of a lot of these mercenaries. Like I shared on my wall early this morning, in 2014, the governor of Benue State and I think the former governor, I think is Adamawa State, they did have a committee that was set up to look into the rising case of mercenaries that were coming into 17 states in Nigeria. So this is not a problem that rotates around cattle rustling. It's a problem of migrating mercenaries that have that intention to land grab. And if you go and look at that article, it states that a lot of those mercenary groups are trying to resettle in 17 communities that with a couple of states outside even the Middle Belt region, but the most affected states mentioned were the Middle Belt. So when you put together all of this, then you do see a picture starts to come together that there is no possibility that that is the problem. The former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Suswan, did say that a lot of them were foreign mercenaries, clearly. So the question is, how does the local Fulani Emirate setup, what role does that play in relation to foreign Fulanis mercenaries migrating into the region? There's no way you can say they are not aware of said communities. There's no way you cannot say there's no sort of a relationship, because in a lot of attacks that we have interviewed, the victims of said communities said they saw foreigners that were also Fulani in the homes of those that are local here. So there seems to be some sort of relationship, and that's why I question the conflict resolution setup that has existed for so many years, and why right now that is failing. So these are the questions that we have to keep asking to get a good picture of the conflict. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. Am I audible, please?
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry, I have a cold, so I'm kind of struggling here to keep up. Okay, so Zari, your hands are up. Zari, we mentioned something earlier today. We had a conversation about the CONFA because I got my hands on the condolence message that President Tinubu sent about the. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to get my hands on it. About the death of Akeredolu, the former governor, right? The deceased governor, may he so rest in peace, like I said earlier. So, and I mentioned that a couple of things he mentioned, which was, I think, state policing and restructuring, were highlighted there. That's one. Secondly, Zari, we spoke about confab. So now I'd like to go to way forward because I'm trying to reach out to these people. They keep coming in and going back out. I saw the commissioner on a moment ago. I honestly don't know why he keeps going on and off. I've tried to call him. He's not even bringing at all. And then one of the senators was at the IDP camp today. Coincidentally, Peter Obi was in town today to sympathize with the ones that were at the IDP. So he was there with him, and I wanted, since he was on ground and he has handled a couple of land grabbing issues, I wanted him to speak on the condition of the IDPs. Particularly, that's why I was bringing him on board. You've been there, you've seen the IDP situation. What is happening there? Have they given their stories? What did you hear? And all of that. If we're unable to bring them back, then in the next phase we would have to have them come on board to speak. So Zari, I think the mic is yours now.
All right. So thank you so much, Kangan. For quite a while, I know we've talked about cattle rustling and all of that. I think it's common sense when you look at a number of cows. I remember there was a time, I think over 100 or way more than that were killed, and Miete Allah said that they rustled 30 cows or so. I will tell you that if 10 of us steal 50 goats from one location and we were given a head start of 2 hours, and then the owners of the goats now were told they've stolen your goats, maybe just 20 or 30 of them, I am very sure they may not have to chase us. They may just put up a few calls. And unless we are pushing the goats into an ocean where they just disappear, I don't know how it's possible to move that number of animals anywhere that could not be found. So initially, that narrative had to stick because somebody needed to evolve these terrorist activities from the old case where possibly they will say, you went out with 10 cows, where are there 8? And they say those 2 entered Mr. Susu's farm. So he held them and said, until you come before he releases it. Okay? Or someone says, your children were in the farm, they stoned my cow and injured it, and you have to pay this. There has been that traditional thing. And it is not peculiar to the Middle Belt. It is peculiar to wherever there are farmers. It is peculiar to even within the same herding, the tribe that predominantly herds. If there are farmers and there are, so that is a baseline. So it's not that case is not peculiar to the Middle Belt. But in the case of the Middle Belt, somebody needed to evolve that. And basically, you cannot come to the Middle Belt and do that. The vehicle is basically the herders. So in other words, you emerge from there. An example is the key element. Of course, it may sound like a digression, but it's not. The key individual that basically laid a foundation for this narrative is Nasir El-Rufai, because he made sure he overwhelmed the media, he bribed his way through, he got all kinds of lobbies. And the story is there's a certain group of people that just kill herders. And so he is trying to see how to compensate the people that have been killed. And I think one would say possibly his pain came from 2011, when Buhari lost. A lot of people were killed, and then certain communities decided not to get killed. And he has vowed to revenge. And basically for the 8 years he spent in Kaduna, he did that. Now, the focus will be heavy on one particular part of the Middle Belt. And then at another point,
Zari, I think we're
Southern
losing
Kaduna,
you.
and now it is
Sorry,
Plateau.
hold on. Zari, can you hear me?
Sorry, I think I've fallen off. Am I audible?
Yes, now you are.
Okay, sorry. I think the call interrupted. Now, when you look at these things, you would understand that it didn't begin today. It's well schemed. And then basically it's at this phase that, and I think you would remember he keeps emphasizing, maybe it is, and I will tell you the truth, it is only in Nigeria you hear that lie, that the Fulani don't forget, they always revenge. The Fulani don't forget, they always revenge. That's a big lie. The places, the countries from which they sacked them from, that they ran away and came to this safe haven, quote and unquote, why are they not going back? Where they actually original from? Why wouldn't they go back and claim their land? They actually do have places that they're originally from, but they don't give them the breathing space because of the default setting that if I have lived here all of my life, my ancestors have lived there, why would you just come to pass by and want to displace me? But Nigeria people have created a certain fertile ground where they come in with all sorts of lies that they don't forget. In other words, that story of they don't forget is a way of justifying whatever jihad that is being launched, because it doesn't really add up. Usually what I tell people who claim that it is vengeance, I would usually ask them, if you will feed me with pictures of 200 Fulani women and children that were killed by any terrorist group, and I see you are trying to issue a lot of disclaimers about, you are not saying the whole of Fulani, you are not saying the whole of Muslim. That is quite true. So, but I will now put it and say, show me a picture of 20, 60, 100, 300 Fulani people that were massacred by any Christian terrorist group in any part of Nigeria. Show me 1, 2, 3, 4, and then give me the name of any Christian terrorist group in Nigeria and all of that. Then we can put the issue of retaliation or a reprisal on the table. But you have a situation where for almost 2 decades, a certain group of people, well armed, well sophisticated. And let me put it to you, somebody was talking about arms. You see, the kind of arms that they use, because it is the same group that shut down our fighter jet, the kind of arms they use is not all about having money to acquire them. You would need the backing of a state, either directly or indirectly, to move those hardwares. And you will need serious training. It's not exactly as if they picked a particular kind of weapon and gave and lined up maybe 300 of us, we may not even know what to do with it. Somebody that would use surface to air missiles. So, do you know, I have always asked, do you know what it takes to shoot down a jet fighter, the speed with which it passes? But these guys have all of these capabilities. And each time they kill hundreds of people, they will refer you to the fact that a number of cows were stolen. How does that add up? So basically, we need to first of all define what is happening, that there is a religious war. And let me summarize by connecting the dots here. When you look at South Sudan, you pick not South Sudan, you pick Sudan before it was separated from South Sudan. You will realize there was something similar. There was an Omar al-Bashir, there was the Janjaweed, and there were the South Sudanese. The very story you hear about, they took my cow, they stole my cow, the Fulani don't forget, the Fulani are doing reprisal, it is only a reprisal and all of that was the story in Sudan. The South Sudanese were saying, no, this is a religious war. People said, no, these Janjaweed militias they are a menace on the Sudanese government. So don't use religion or anything. Until it happened, I think an American witnessed it. I think it's an aid worker or so. He now realized that actually it is the Sudanese government that is sponsoring Janjaweed to waste the Christian community in South Sudan. And this is how it was happening. I'm trying to make you connect the dots, and I'll stop here. According to him, he said a number of minutes or hours before the Janjaweed would come in, they used horses. They will overwhelm the media with the story of sighting terrorists here and there. And then somehow either helicopters and all of that would come in, because the South Sudanese got to a point that they had to have a militia. So they decimate the militia and they move back. And because they don't have the media like the government does, after a while, Janjaweed will come in and they will mop up everything. And Omar al-Bashir goes to the place. You don't condole with the people. You stand there and keep shouting, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And it doesn't make sense. Until it got to the point that somebody, so that's why to a large extent I say to myself, will it have to take a Westerner to witness firsthand the evil that is happening in the Middle Belt before the world would understand it? Or is it deliberate that the world is looking the other way around because they want to create another situation of a civil war. Because when you push a people to the point where the only option left for them is to self-preserve, it's the next thing that will happen is a civil war. Because if you and I, Kanya and Patrick, as Middle Beltons, lived in Maiduguri or Lagos, and we were faced with trouble, we will sit down one day in the evening over dinner and I'll say, Kanya, let's go back to our village and go and stay there and leave this place since they don't want us. But we are in our village and somebody will come and rape my sister. Somebody will come and pick my 2-year-old child and dash his head on either a wall or a tree. Somebody will come to the village and do all kinds of unspeakable things. And when I say unspeakable things, I mean certain unspeakable things to people. Someone will come and say, no, let's not use the gun. Let's use machetes and butcher these people. They look at the corpses, you will see the way they kill people. And then he comes up with another story. So we need to first define this issue. And I think the UN, even though I don't count much on them, is part of the then the government responsibility of dealing with it.
Zari, hold on, please. Sorry, Zari, we lost you when you said the UN. So I think the call, there was a glitch there. So can you just say that again? You said the UN and then you went off for a bit.
Yeah, I said the UN has a more it has moral responsibility of labeling this particular evil for what it is, which is a genocide. It's a religious war. But they are not doing so. Exactly why they are not doing so, I do not know. But I'll come back to it much later in the course of our discussion.
All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry. George is Lambert, please, is the person here where I'm supposed to bring on board one of the PRO, former PRO of Civil Defense and the Commissioner of Police. I saw him here and I don't know how I cannot see him anymore. So please, if you're here, can you please request the mic? If the Civil Defense person is here as well, can you please request the mic? Any other person requesting the mic, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a chance to talk. Today is for Plateau State. I'm not giving anybody any other time to have any opinion. We're giving our story, we're sharing our story, the world has to listen, and probably in due time, you can say, please just tweet at the space, and I'm sure the world will see. But for now, we don't have the luxury of time to listen to anyone who was not scheduled for this space. So, Lambert, I'll give you 7 minutes to talk, and then, like I said, if you're supposed to talk and I've not seen you, please come into my DM and tell me so that I can open up this, just in case you're using a name that I don't know. I'm really having a hard time going through the names to pick my speakers. But please come to my DM and request, and I would let you speak. So please, Lambert, you have 7 minutes. Thank you. Lambert, are you there? I've made you a speaker. I can't hear you if you're speaking. I think you can unmute your mic. Also, just before he comes, Lambert was among those that spearheaded the changing of the name Barkin Ladi to Go in, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. Was okay. Lambert, hold on. Sorry, hold on. Yes, we can hear you now. Lambert, can you hear me? Lambert, can you hear me? Okay, I think you may have to leave and come
Can
back.
anybody say hello, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but I'm not sure you can hear us.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear somebody now say something. Okay, my name is George Lambert. I'd just like to continue from the fact that somebody responded to my hello. I'm from one of the local governments that Dong spoke about. I'm from Gol, one of the local governments that was hit a couple of years back and still being hit with some of these attacks. The local government is constitutionally known as Barkin Ladi, but we are advocating that it should be changed to Gol. That's the native name, the original name. We've tried to find out the reasons why it was named Barking Ladi, but of course the reasons are not quite straightforward. So today I was in Bokos. I followed one of the elites we have here to Bokos, and I couldn't hide my tears because a lot of issues that were raised. Some of them have been discussed already. I mean,
Lambert, please hold on for a minute. I'm not interrupting you, but some of us don't have the background to what you just said.
Okay.
Now, tell us the meaning of Goal, tell us the meaning of Barking Ladi, and tell us why the two names are conflicting, and why it's important that it's reverted to the original name of the land.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. First of all, the name Barking Ladi, looking at the history of the local government, we have a history of mining and agriculture, which has brought in visitors from different localities, different communities across the country for the mining exercise that was going on some years back. So the name Ladi is a name in Hausa, is a name, somebody's name, a woman's name. She was, according to history and according to my own research, and of course the widely accepted research here in Plateau State, her name is Ladi. So she was a businesswoman, came from one of the northern states, and she was more of someone who cooks food in a particular location in the local government. So when people go for their mining exercise, they end up saying, let's go to, Barki is more like Barki is more in Hausa, it's like a city or a place, or let's say like you say Jos. So you go to so Jos of so person. So Barki of Ladi, that is where Ladi is. Let's go and eat where Ladi is, and that is how the name came up, Barking Ladi. Goal, on the other hand, is it's more like according to the history of the Biroms, it's more like because the geographical location of the local government is more like a hilly and a slopey side. So the slopey description, because the way we name our people or the way we name things here in Birom people, the way we name, I believe people from Plateau would bear me witness that the Birom people have a way of naming things according to what they see, then of course animals and other things like that. So it's a slopey kind of description, like a slope, a valley, not the valley, not the like the depth of the valley, but like the slope towards the valley, and that is where the name Goal is coming from. Now the other purpose or the reason why these names need to be reverted back, not just Goal, the Barking Ladi to Goal, but other communities that were named, is because you see, heritage is from what we were talking about. It means there's a systematic way where these people are trying to capture the state entirely, and that is why we need to revert back. It reminds our people, reminds us that we have a story, we have where we're coming from. You see, a person without a history that would probably not know where he's heading to. So when we know our history, it helps us shape our lives, help us fix where we are coming from, help us fix our current situations, because of course, our old people are probably getting older. So as young as we are, we need to, revert back some of the stories, help us, fight for what is ours. So and that's the particular reason why I feel like these locations need to be fixed back to their basic names. I hope that answers that particular question. I hope I can continue.
Okay, please continue. But then, is there any correlation between, okay, you're saying that the community used to have a local name by the locals, and now it is named after another language?
Yes.
So that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead to make other points.
And not just that local government. We have a lot of them, like Tudunwada, usually called Jishe. We have quite a number. Gadabu, Kabong, quite a number of local communities. So, like I said, today I was in Bokos. So fortunately, the stories I heard from the coordinator of one of the places, someone mentioned here that the attacks are carried out by people they know, people they see every day. So it's unfortunate. So, and of course,
Okay, is it just me or did we lose George for a bit? Chima, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I couldn't hear him. I can't hear him rather.
Okay.
So I was also suspecting that it was from me.
Can anybody hear me?
Okay.
Yes,
we can hear you now.
Okay, so I said I can't remember the number of times I've slept, I've spent the night in maize farms. Of course, the one thing that we've all agreed here is that these people sent letters. I cannot say that I have one of the letters available with me, but they sent letters or they sent messages that yes, we are coming to these communities today. We're coming to that community tomorrow. And of course, it happens just like it has happened in Bokos today, and of course, happens a few days afterwards in Bokos. So yes, we've witnessed it. I personally am a witness to some of the all the way from 2001 up to this very moment. I was in Abattoir 2008 and 2009, witnessed the same crisis and all that. So no, it is not. It is not farmers' stuff, because in Jaws we don't have farms that are being taken by Fulani.
Sorry, I have to interject a little bit again. You know, we have a broad range of audience who some of them don't have a background to the issues we are discussing. So if you say that you've slept in maize farms, why is that? You feel unsafe in your home? Yes, explore that for our audience so that they can appreciate the issue.
Oh, okay. In 2001, a couple in Gasa, that's my own community, Gasa, Rahul Gasa. I'm from Gasa in Gol. Please pardon me, I would like to use Gol because I'm an advocate of changing the name Barkiladi to Gol, so I would use a lot of that. But Barkiladi, of course, is the constitutional name. So in 2001, I was in Gol. I remember clearly how we get to spend many nights in maize farms only because we've been attacked, where these people want to take over our communities. Until today, if you go to my local government, I bet you go to my local government, to my community at this very moment, this very minute now, you see our community men, outside, trying to secure the perimeters of our community. And this is because they want to take over that particular location. And all this because I think Donks mentioned a few things where we have fertile land. Honestly, we do. Kangyang also mentioned that we honestly have the best lands in the Plateau State has the best land. So it's only obvious that, of course, they have the best reason. And one of the reasons why we're having this particular discussion is that these people are land grabbers. These people are killers. These people are murderers. So for the fact that they want to take over our lands, yes, and that is one of the reasons why I personally slept in maize farms, because I know they want to take over my land. And I can mention to you communities at this moment. Holeal, we have one of the communities called Holeal. Till today, since 2001, we don't have our people staying there anymore. But and they moved to my own personal community. So these people are there in my communities. You can talk to them, and of course, they'll tell you that they can't go back to the communities. And honestly, if you go to those communities that we're taking over, you would understand that the crops that come out from. See, you go to Barkila, you go to my local government market, the local government market, you would see that virtually the entire market is flooded by Fulanis who Fulanis who have taking the best part of our lands. Of course, someone mentioned here that these people are very systematic. Of course, they follow where there is water, where there is the best of the lands. They follow through all those terrains and, of course, seize those lands from the people. So you go to our markets, you see that most of the crops are coming in from this particular ethnic group, the Fulanis, of course, because they have taken over our lands. We can't even go to farms. We can't go to last year. My cabbage farm was my cabbage and pepper farm. Personally, I'm a farmer, so my farms was damaged completely, 100% completely damaged by cattle. And of course, we can't go and complain because from the side of security, they have this particular thing. If you don't get the cattle that destroyed your farm, then of course there will be no compensation. But if a cow dies on your farm, of course, you have to pay for that particular cow. These are legit things that are happening, and it's sad. It's very sad, and I'm getting emotional about it because even as I was in Bokos today, I couldn't hide my tears at all. Couldn't hide my tears because the things that when I saw the women and the children, I was in the Plateau State Government House too today. government house, and I heard the Secretary of State government also said that when you go to these hospitals, you see these children. These children, a particular child was using a machete on his head, a child, and of course he survived, so he's still in the hospital, of course, and of course another person who was slapped there. So when you get to hear some of these stories, it's quite sad. Before I go, because of the timing I was given, I wanted to pick up a few points. I'll just point them. Don't need to explain. We need to understand the place of traditional rulers, because as far as I'm concerned, we have a kind of a systematic stuff that we have all agreed here that the military. I remember in words of T.Y. Danjuma, who has always said that the military is compromised, of course. So we need other things that traditional rulers, community policing and all that needs to be set on ground for some of these things to be managed, honestly, because the security, Jay Kanyang said there are places when I was passing through Bokos today to some of the IDPs, some of the communities that were attacked, like where the Reverend was killed, is actually on the main road. Of course, it's a very good road, no potholes and nothing. So you wonder how these people killed the people they killed and of course escaped. And so of course we need a proactive approach on that. And I'm very glad that of course we have some of those. We have traditional rulers in most of these communities. Of course, Bokos suffered one of their traditional ruler, a chief, a very highly placed chief was killed at some point. So of course, this is not the beginning. This thing didn't just start now. It has been there. It's very sad for us, for some of us. So I mean, there are a lot of stuff I would have loved to speak about, but for the time and stuff, so I would like to stop here for a moment. If there's anything I need to add, of course, I can always come up and add. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So if we heard you correctly, what I hear now is that as we are planning to sleep on our beds and in our houses tonight, that some people are going to sleep in maize farms, not because they don't have homes, not because they don't have houses, but because they feel unsafe in their houses, that they have to sleep in farms to hide and expose themselves to the hazards of scorpions, stings, insect bites, poisonous snake bites, just because they are evading possible attack by terrorists. So that's what I wanted you to speak on, and I think you spoke to that. And you didn't expand the point on traditional rulers, but then I'll allow Jane to pass the mic around, and then if we get a chance to pass it back to you, it will be an important point for you to tell us what you think that institution can do to help the people.
All right.
So Jane, back to you.
Okay, yeah. Lambert was supposed to help the civil defense person to come on board. Lambert, have you reached out to him, please, or has he responded? I'm unable to make any call because I think the last two times that the call went out, I called the senator once, or the aspirant rather, and I called the commissioner the second time. I am suspecting that was why the call went out. I've connected my Wi-Fi, but I'm just skeptical about making any phone call so that the speech doesn't just end abruptly. So have you reached out to him, please? That is Lambert. Can he hear me?
Hi, Lambert. Can you hear her?
Not at all. I can't hear her. I was just about to unmute.
So she was asking whether or not you've reached out to the civil defense personnel that was supposed to be on our space.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I reached out to him. He has not picked. He was in Shandam as of the time we spoke earlier on, and at this moment, I think maybe because of the switching in the links, maybe maybe he felt it was not happening or something. So, but I've sent him the new link as an SMS and also sent him as on WhatsApp too. So I hope that he will come online and you see it and join. But of course, others can put up their opinions.
Thank you so much. So Jane, the civil defense personnel is not yet in the room, so we'll keep an eye on him to see when he comes.
Okay. Okay. So Shillong, has the other person come yet? If he hasn't, then we can just go back. We can just go back to the conversation on the way forward. Then I think I will have to probably the next space have to reschedule all of them. So the ones who are unable to talk today, we can just reschedule them for the next space, and then they can talk. Shillong, were you able to reach out to him? I don't even know if Shillong can hear me. Shillong, can you hear me?
I don't think Shillong is on the speaker list. Is he? Or she? Oh, she's no longer on the speaker list. Yes, she's
Okay,
no longer on the
okay,
speaker list.
okay, okay. I
So
get.
let me
I
try to bring
understand.
her back on.
Okay.
As we wait for Shillong to come up, it's important that I stress this point. If you wanted to acquire a land in, say, Maitama in Abuja, or maybe in Esolo in Lagos, you have to reach out to the owner of the land. You have to go into partnerships, lease, acquiring. You have to go through the formal protocol of acquiring a land. If you wanted a fertile land in Bokos, all you have to do is to hire a few mercenaries to come and displace the people for you, and then you can retain the land you've acquired by conquest. This is the story that we've seen repeatedly, not just in Plateau, but in Nasarawa. It's happening in Benue, and indeed in the whole stretch of Nigeria's Middle Belt region. And then the other thing I wanted to add is the sheer humanitarian disaster that we've seen in IDP camps. Like I mentioned earlier, we've been to close to 7 or 8 IDP camps in 3 states of the region. And the sheer humanitarian disaster, especially in Plateau, you can't imagine it. And in some cases, it's double jeopardy. One, the people who have been to farming and businesses are no longer able to access their farmlands, which is their only source of livelihood. Now you've confined them to IDP camps of penury. But then even within the IDP camps, the women, especially the young women and the girls, are exposed to rape. You have incidences of human trafficking going on within the IDP camp as a result of what we're discussing. You have issues of organ harvesting. You have issues of child trafficking. And you have issues of people who used to have something can no longer feed because they are now in IDP camps. And people who are foreigners are going to their farmlands to harvest their produce and sometimes sell it, or sometimes just destroy it. And then in one of the IDP camps, the last one I went to, a day before I came in, women who had been in IDP camps felt so frustrated because the living condition in the IDP camp is next to hellfire, I'm telling you. If you pay a visit to these IDP camps, you imagine how are people surviving. And out of frustration, they knew that their communities were unsafe. But because of hunger, they said they couldn't watch their children cry to them of hunger. They now took the risk to go to their farmlands to harvest just groundnuts, to cook groundnuts for their kids, or to at least harvest enough to cook for their kids, not to sell. And then right in their farmlands, both of them were murdered just because they wanted to fend for their kids. So this is the humanitarian disaster occasioned by the issues that we're talking about. And I hear people talking about cattle. It has nothing to do with cattle. What is going on here is that Nigeria has failed to become a modern state. Look, before 1904, before the amalgamation and before Nigeria became a modern state, these things happened. It was it was conquest, it was military conquest. If you liked a land, you can just jump into that and then take it over, drive out the inhabitants. But then there is now a modern state construct. Nigeria has a land use act. If you want land, the law is clear on how you can acquire land. You don't just go out killing people and driving them out of their lands. And Nigeria has refused to enforce its own constitution. So what is happening here is that a lot of people don't believe in the civilization called Nigeria. They don't believe that there is a modern civilization. They believe in the old conquest and killing type of acquisition of property. So you have a warfare of civilizational proportions. That's the way I like to look at it. And then the second issue on the cattle, if we agree that your cattle has been rustled, you've been attacked, you've been injured, and which could happen anytime there's existence in few of the communities that have direct interaction with these, with coast community and settler communities. The law is clear. There are laws in Nigeria. You have a lot of laws that protect people and their businesses and their entities. You say you don't want to approach the law courts because you don't have confidence in the law courts. Why can't you go back to the National Assembly and advocate for creation of special courts that will deal with cattle rustling, assuming that we have agreed that it's a problem, which we know it's not? Why can't you? So if anybody wrongs me now, I'll go to them and wipe out their whole community and rename the community. So what is happening has nothing to do with cattle. But like I said earlier, these people have a militant wing that does the ground job. Then they have a very robust PR strategy. And they have a lot of people in government who are sympathetic to their cause, who use their public offices and who use their media network to spread disinformation and all of these things to muddle the water. Just like you have their online components. Anytime we're discussing, they're saying, oh, this is not just. I can see how many times Jane has been forced to keep, insisting, passing disclaimers, because the narrative is that anytime you're talking about this issue, you're trying to divide Nigeria. The people who are killing the innocent Nigerians are not dividing the Nigeria. But then the people talking about the killings are now the aggressors. Have you seen that there is a coordinated media? And when they come, they usually online, they have one agenda and they are coordinated and systematic about that. On the traditional media space, it is the same thing. But let me speak on this lastly before I yield the mic. When I was working on the census, on the election, there was just one call and I was deplatformed. All the television stations stopped inviting me. And after I finished my Arise TV interview, one of the persons there just said, look, they are going to spread money around the system and no TV platform will invite you again. And this is just because once they know that you're going to speak the truth, they will make effort. So people already are going to spread money to deplatform individuals who are speaking the truth, just because they don't want it to get out. I know some media platforms that I will leave unnamed, that even if 1 million people die in Plateau, they will find a way to report it as former header clash because they have been paid to keep reporting this issue as such. So there is a grand media scheme going on. There's a militant wing, there's a media wing, they have an international diplomacy wing, who even if you go to Hague, they hire a lobbyist to go, they hire brilliant lawyers to go to Hague and say that all the pictures that you're seeing from Plateau, you're seeing from Bokos, that you're seeing from Mango, that these pictures were pictures that happened in Rwanda genocide. This is what they are doing. And because the international community does not have the, the knowledge to decipher between, and then once they make those arguments, they carry every presentation you've made and dump it inside the dustbin. Once they can muddle the waters a bit and create that atmosphere of doubt, then your whole advocacy is left with. So there are a lot of things we have to do to be strategic again in our own communication and in our own approach. So I'll pass the mic back to you, Jane, to bring on order or to pass the mic around.
Okay, I wanted, so Dongs requested to speak just a minute ago on the status of living in this location. So I'll bring him on. Dongs, you have 3 minutes, please, and then we can go to the way forward and discuss that. If I don't have any other people that I wanted to bring on board, I've been getting texts from them either having difficulty joining, or I don't even know if it's that they're trying to use the old link, but I've sent to them all the new links. I really wanted the commissioner guy to come on board. He was here and I saw him. I should have just told him instantly to talk. I don't know why, but he's not here now. I'll try to text him again and plead with him to come and speak. And in the meantime, Dongs, please, you have 3 minutes, please. So by 10:20.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jane. So I think I just wanted to add to what my Oga George Lambert was saying earlier. So I think some people didn't still understand when he said we sleep in maize farms. It is that if just currently, if I tomorrow decide I'm going to my village, trust me, I'm going to go and sleep outside. I'm not going to go and sleep in my room. And the thing is because this has been the trend for as long as for my village. What happens is that from 15 years, the moment as a young man you get to 15,
sorry,
you no longer.
Sorry.
Yes.
You mean that now, if you go back to Gol Berkinladi to sleep today, you're not going to sleep in your house as we speak? Okay.
I'm joining others to sleep outside. I'm joining others to sleep outside because they have attacked our neighboring communities. Do you understand? It will be folly for us to go back to sleep in our rooms. We take turns. Maybe they will say, okay, today this group will go, tomorrow the next group will go. So like the kind of group and have one like a roster where they take shifts, they take turns in trying to be vigilant. That is the current situation right now. In October, in September, people were forced to go and harvest all their corns, which were not even ripe from the farm in my village, because what happens is that corn they would want to allow it to dry on the farm before they harvest. But this time around, they had to force people to go and harvest their corns while it's not even ripe. Because if you leave it, trust me, you're not going to come and find anything on our farm, on our own farm, the farm that we farmed, like my own farmland. We lost about a whole, maybe say a quarter of it to cattle, to Fulanis and their cattle. They enter, they eat. And trust me, the day you decide to go and challenge them, you are not assured that you are going to live the next second. Now, what happens is this: they enter the farmlands, you try to challenge or you report. So what happens is that when you go to report to the military or whoever, whatever, what they try to do is that when they superintend over the situation, they would now decide to say, okay, tell the Fulani man bring 30,000 naira. Then you bring 30K, and then they will give you 30,000 naira and tell you, okay, that's all, you can go, bye bye. Anything again, like literally, that's what they'll tell you. You don't have a right to complain again. They've compensated you as far as you're concerned. That is for those that even get.
Who decides how much is compensated? The police?
Yeah, the soldiers, yes, the police, whoever, the soldiers mostly, they are the ones that usually take the case. So they don't decide and tell you, bring Fulani here, or bring 30K. So what happens? They just keep one of his cows there in their custody. He'll bring 30,000 or 20,000, and then they'll come and give you. If you don't want, you can go. Basically, that's what happens. And then I remember there was a time, sometime in last year, one Fulani man came to complain that they killed, his cows died passing through somebody's farm. Then they now called the person and asked him to bring an amount worth the price of that cow, because he said he planted poisons in his farm, poisonous plants that are poisonous to the cow, and that killed the cow. And I can tell you, this man was detained, and they asked his relatives to go back and raise the money, about 250,000 naira, to come and pay the Fulani man, because the Fulani man's cow ate poisonous plants from his farm. That's the reality. That is what happens now. So is that if you are farming, just pray that your stuff is intact in your farm. Just pray that you are good. And then to show that this is deliberate. While the maize is growing, nothing happens. Though. When maize is growing, nothing happens. The moment it's due for harvest, that is when you begin to find, you come and find these things missing. That is one. Secondly, I want to recall an uncle who died of blessed memory sometime last year as well. So this is what happened. In 2018, they came for attack. He had a local gun, these Dane guns. He had this local gun. But when the soldiers came after the whole attack, so they found him with the Dane gun. They made arrests. That same day, they also followed some Fulani guys that we know, made arrests. They arrested 6 of them, with him 7 of them, bundled them in the same car, took them to the CID here in Jos. The next week, on the Wednesday of the other week, all of them returned. All of the Fulani guys returned back home. We were seeing them. This guy stayed in the CID for 6 months. This uncle that died. I'm telling you. So what happened in the CID? He was being frozen. He literally freezes human being every day, and they were telling him to produce. They forced him to say he must bring another name, that sort of somebody that has a local gun, so that they can go and arrest. Then they will free him. Otherwise, they were going to allow him to remain there. And he didn't bring a name. He remained there for 6 months. So what they do is every evening they will freeze him, literally freeze him, close him in a very whatever they are using to freeze him that you would find crystals of ice on his body. In the morning, when the sun is out, they will take him out, beat him, and return him back for 6 months. This guy's arm broke. He had a fracture. Sorry, this guy had a fracture on his arm. Nobody treated him there. He spent 6 months. They released him after 6 months. After deliberate intervention, we had to go through our traditional rulers' plead that this man was just trying to self-defense, and he uses this Dane gun for hunting. We know what Dane guns are used for. So after the intervention, they released him. He had chronic liver disease. Despite the treatment, he died. So he spent 6 months in these people's custody. The same people that he was bundled with the day of the attack came back the next Wednesday. Today, one of them is dead. I'm telling these people, I know these people by names. The one that died, they call him Yangwa. I'm not even trying to create stories or illusions. These are things that we know. But we continue to do this because who do you take these things up to? There are no evidences, or there are no what. I mean, we continue. I come to media on the other hand, and then people try to be politically correct, speaking a lot of big English, bringing very ridiculous vocabularies about it's not farmer headers clash, it's not this. No, we are not profiling anybody, but we are telling you that this is what is happening every day, every blessed day in our place, in my town, in my village. I cannot go to my farm today because I am not sure that if I farm, I'm wasting my time. Today, Bokos people now, this is around the time when they harvest potato. This is around the time when they're going to make very bountiful harvest of their potato. A bag of potato costs about 45,000 naira to 50k now in Jos. Yes, currently, these people have had to desert their farms. Who are going to go and harvest the potato? The people that inherit the land, Fulanis that have started on the land. And this thing, that's I told somebody the other day, if these people don't go back to their villages in weeks, trust me, they have crippled the economy of Bokos and whatever it comes with. For people who take Irish potato, you know how costly Irish is. Trust me, this is what is happening every blessed day. You are just one day away from this predicament happening to you and yours. Really, to you and yours. So, thank you very much. That's also what I wanted to add.
Okay, I just got a text now, and coincidentally, I just saw a tweet now saying that an attack is going on right now in Shere Hills. In Shere, let us all pray for God's intervention. Shere is is a place in Jos East. I went for a mountain leadership training there for youth, not just youth, but even military and parastatals. So I don't know if anybody can confirm that, please. That I am guessing that is why the commissioner, because he is from Jos East local government, and I'm just getting a tweet, and I've gotten a text from another person from there saying that an attack is going on there right now. Jos East is another local government. I think so far they have attacked 7 local governments. Jos East will be the 8th local government. So if anybody was mentioning farmer herders attack, what did the people in Jos East do? So that all of this negates the story that it is a farmer herders attack, because you cannot have a problem with all local governments in one state. If it is a farmer herders attack, let it at least be one local government. How is it that only you are having a problem with 7 local governments and now another 8th one? And I don't know, man. It's scary. It's annoying. So yes, I just got that. If I have more details, I would share. I also try to reach out to the person that made the tweet was Jemima. I cannot call the person that sent me the text now because I'm scared that the space may just go off like it did the 2 times earlier. So Jemima Mima Nyako, I'm going to follow you now. If you're on this space, kindly send me a DM. I don't know if she's on ground now, but if anybody knows anybody that is currently in Jos East local government and knows what is happening, please let the person reach out to us if possible while this space is on, so that we can get legit information. And I would really love that, so that by tomorrow morning when we begin to tell stories, there will be no, we're making up stories or something. I am saying this now while we're on this space. This is less than 30 minutes ago that I received the text and the tweet. I am retweeting the tweet now and putting an exclamation mark to the tweet. So those of you who are here can go back to my, yes, I just retweeted it now with an exclamation mark. So you can go and see that. There's currently an attack in Shere Jos East local government. So yes, about the way forward, I really don't know why they're not picking my calls, but I don't want to dwell on them. So we'll have to reschedule for all of them. Hopefully we're able to bring Yusuf Gagdi. Yusuf Gagdi is person representing Pangshin Kanke Kanam. He's a Muslim. He's the current House Committee Chairman on Navy. This is his second term doing, serving in that capacity. Kwande as well, Suleiman Kwande, running for Senate and one-time member House of Reps. Gyangzi fought for a couple of lands and also running for Senate in Plateau North.
Is anybody online?
And others who have. Okay, I think that George is not hearing me. Can someone please help me message George? For some reason, he has not been hearing me. I don't know why. Yes, and then bring on board other people. Donks, please, since you know the woman who lost her husband and can tell this story, help me reach out to her if you can hear me. Donks, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I mean, reaching out to her,
then I think that the problem is from Lambert.
If I can get to her.
Okay, thank you. Please help us get across to her and let her know that we want her, if possible, if anybody close to her has a phone and can give her the phone to speak. We want her to speak and let the world hear her say it with her mouth. And
even if she doesn't want to, I think getting someone who was there the night of the incident I can be able to do that.
All right, that's fine. But we would actually prefer her so that we don't hear them say. I would really be very, very appreciative if she can be the one to tell the story by herself. It would be more I don't know, intimate to say, more direct. Yes, thank you very much. And then Patrick, if you can also work on those letters that are being sent, I would try to reach out to the GOM currently for Jos South and a couple of areas that I was able to reach out to and even have a meeting with.
Is anybody online? Can anybody hear me? I would like to just say something on the spot assessment in Bokos today. That is from the farmers. If it's possible, can I?
Sorry, I had to meet George. I don't think George is getting us. So please, can anybody please help me reach out to George and let him know that I think he can just log out and log back in, and then I would I'll give him the mic or let him just tell me whatever he wants to say. I think we can't keep having the same people talk over and over again. The space is over 8, 9, 10. This is 3 hours now. I'd like us to conclude in the next 30 minutes, please. So please, yep, that's that. So yeah, and then for the letters, Patrick, help us reach out to anybody that if we can get our hands on them, appreciably, so that we can have them treated as well. Yes. So the way forward, Zari, are you here? Yes, Zari is here. Zari, Chima, I think to a very large extent, Vice Guard. Plankat, if you have anything to say, please, you can also unmute yourself to talk. I think this is now going to be a discussion for those of us that are speakers on what we think the way forward should be. Black, I don't know if you're here, but you can request the mic as well if you want to say something. So among the speakers, we can discuss for the next 30 minutes. So hopefully the space should end by 11 o'clock. If by any chance we get a word from Just East, I would want someone who is physically on ground to come and talk if possible, please. If not, we can start discussing the way forward now. So yes, Zari, we mentioned something about the confab earlier. Chima, we mentioned something earlier about, I think, restructuring and evacuation of the occupants now of the lands. We also mentioned something about the next census rather that would happen in November next year, and the effect of that to the displacement of persons in the Middle Belt generally. Can we please discuss around that? So Zari, the mic is yours.
Hi, Zari, are you there? Can you unmute yourself and make your contributions?
Okay, Patrick too, please. Patrick, so I think that we can go in a circle. The way it is on my phone now, I have Zari, I have Patrick, I have Plankat, I have Vice Guard, I have Chima as the speakers. We had more speakers than this. I don't know if they've stepped down, but if you have anything to contribute, those of us that were speakers initially, please, you can request for the mic now and then. If Zari doesn't talk, I think I'll pass on to Patrick. Zari, are you there? Zari has slept off on us. Okay, Patrick, I think you can speak and then let me message Zari in his DM, in his inbox, and see if he's going to respond. So Patrick, please, the mic is yours.
Hi, Patrick, are you there? Oh, I believe. Okay. I think I have. I think they weren't able to unmute themselves. So Zari, check again to see if you're able to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. I was muted for a bit.
Okay, sorry, I muted everyone when George kept coming and going. So I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I can just go ahead. I think we have had this conversation about self-defense, and self-defense is a fundamental right defined by law. We do have multiple case law, giving clear jurisprudence on the use of force to protect oneself, family, property from a threat, and these things are quite applicable here. And there's this conversation of proportionality, the degree of force that is being used. You know, when you have people coming with, you know, SMGs and all of that, you know, we have to understand that these communities do have that right to use appropriate force to defend themselves. So that is the first point. The second point is that a lot of these communities have been engaging in that, but they do need the support of a lot of the other Middle Belt people. They need the support in terms of getting, you know, adequate equipment to do this. You did hear the testimony of one of us on the situation and the fact that they actually do need to be outside to, you know, go about this. We do have vigilantes. We do have a lot of the civilian JTF. But the question now comes is that how effective are they in stopping people that have military style training in these things? So there's more need for each of the Middle Belt communities to come together in solving this. Like I said before, this is not a peculiar problem to Plateau. You do see just I think today I think today morning there was an attack in Taraba over the same style issues, you know. So there has to be some level of unity in coming together to solve this, and you know, funds around this. But you know, just to make another point, the former governor of Ondo State, rest his soul, had pointed out in the third quarter of this year, he did say that the government of Katsina did have, you know, military grade weapons granted to their security outfit. And the question is, why do we as a country have different laws for different sections of the country? And why, and like he said at the time, which was quite apt, why are other parts of the country not afforded this, despite the fact that the killings, you know, in these areas are even more or within the same band range, you know. And this is why a lot of the communities in the Middle Belt need to start advocating for, you know, adequate, you know, grade weapons to protect themselves. Because, you know, when you look at the threats being carried out on these communities, and you look at the inadequacy of the current military apparatus, then there's a vacuum, and then there's a need for these communities to step up. So that would be the first thing I would say before going into other long-term solutions. I do think that secondly, the census of next year is very important in the sense that you cannot have a lot of records showing that people are being usurped on their lands, people are being murdered on their lands, you know, and then census is carried out with new illegal settlement. It's basically carried on illegal settlements. Let me put it like that. You know, that is completely unacceptable. You can only have a census. What is the fundamental reason for a census? You know, is to get accurate data. At the point, there's no possibility of getting of counting foreigners on the most part, as the 2014 committee that was led by former Governor Gabriel Suswam had said. You know, why should foreign illegals be counted as Nigerians? So you cannot go ahead. You cannot solve and get accurate data when you haven't done the basics. The basics is security. So we actually need to do that. So just like how the former governor of Benue State, Governor Otom, had spoken about the census and said, you know, how can you be doing a census when people are in IDP camps and others have taken over their lands, you know? And we have to put our priorities straight. We cannot put the cart before the horse. So we need to actually tackle this before we do any assessments of that, and any census that is done without tackling this issue loses credibility in the eyes of the populace, because we are quite well aware of the groups that are laying claim to lands that do not belong to them and are trying to resettle in said area. So I reject any form of census at the moment, and I think that all finances that are being put for said census be put in tackling these issues, because I have seen videos that have I've still not been able to recover from. I think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that there hasn't been adequate restructuring. And we've been having that conversation for a very long time. We've been having calls for a sovereign national conference. And, a lot of these we don't have a basis for conversations like why states were, what was the modus operandi for creating a said state? So were they set of principles? Were they set of, guidelines that led to the creation of a state or a local government, or and this is particularly very relevant for middle belt communities that are agricultural, because a lot of groups have exploited the military interest when creating states to perpetuate genocide in the middle belt. So these are the fundamentals that we actually have to discuss before we go ahead. I think that some sort of conference needs to be held to discuss the role of state creation and a lot of the past policies that are having an effect on present day societies. Right from the 50s, we did have issues in protecting minority rights in Nigeria. I remember that in the 1959 elections and the coalition talks for a government, one of the fundamental issues that the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo raised was protection of minority rights, especially in the Middle Belt region. We haven't seen complete implementation or even an attempt to even, go into that and explore protection of rights. You do see a lot of these groups, villages being leveled. I have a friend in Gombe, and his entire ethnic group was crushed. I have another friend in a community in Plateau where her and a few others are the only surviving members of that ethnic group. So
well, thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you, and then your points are succinct and they're easy to understand. Please check your DM, Patrick. Zari, are you able now to make your contributions?
I sent him a DM and he hasn't responded. Okay. Zari, can you talk now? He was at the mechanic.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much. Pardon me, I had to briefly attend to something. So the call kept interrupting while I was speaking. Now, I left off at point when I was talking about the United Nations. A couple of weeks ago, you would remember there was a drone strike somewhere in Kaduna. Now, you would remember the traction it pulled. And then to a large extent, it looked as if some of us were inhuman and wicked, to actually be honest to the situation. Just, I don't know if the exact number, but I think the figures were around 80 or so of the people that died. First of all, the military gave the reason for the drone strike. And then much later, because of certain elements that came out, they wanted to double back on it. And then all of a sudden, they stood their grounds. And those forces that came out quickly coined the story and made it look like primarily it was a targeted attack on people because they were celebrating a religious festival. So on one hand, the military is saying we are not denying civilian casualties. But before that particular incident, you may remember that there was also another incident between Benue and Nasarawa border where there was a similar drone strike. Now, I mentioned the United Nations, and I'm bringing that example to make a point. Before the particular drone strike along the Benue-Nasarawa border, there were killings. There have been reports, the very same way communities will tell you, these people have done this, these people have done this, these people have done this, and all of that. And it appeared that never caught the attention of the United Nations until the military did a drone strike to kill terrorists. But Sunusi Lamido Sunusi and many other people will not define them as terrorists. They will define them as innocent pastoralists. Then the United Nations, of all of the killings going on in the Middle Belt, chose to zoom into that particular one and then picked those particular ones that were killed and reported it as genocide against Fulani people. I find it insulting because when I attend a mass burial, I see 40 people, I see women, I see children, I see 120, I see 70, I see 300, and all of that. And all you hear is the United Nations raises concern about the casualties or the killings resulting from communal clashes or farmer-hider clash. And a terrorist runs out of luck, and then it is captured as genocide. Now it has left us wondering, is it compromised? Is it not getting the right information? Or has the Islamist cause? Or has the Islamist cause?
Sorry, Jane, could you mute your microphone?
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Zaria, apologies for that. Please continue.
All right. So could the Islamist cause penetrated the United Nations? Because Chima, I mean, it's common sense. It doesn't make sense. Even if I came to look for your trouble and you are able to kill me, kill my grandparents, kill my daughters, kill my cousins, kill my in-laws, I'm the troublemaker actually. And everybody is quiet. Then the day one of your goats goes out and doesn't come back, then someone says, this particular fellow is trying to kill you. Or maybe the day I stone you with. So it just doesn't add up. And then all of a sudden, another drone strike came, which is that of Kaduna. And then the same kind of sentiments came up. And this time around, it wasn't just that the military drone strike killed people, but it looked as if it's all about the chief of defense staff being a man from southern Kaduna with a mission to wipe out Muslims. Now, people have ignored the fact that that axis where that drone strike took place connects basically most, if not all, of the terrorist cells that access this country from our borders to the Middle Belt. That was where students from mechanized divisions, from School of Forestry were taken. It was from that axis the Defense Academy was attacked. It was along that axis that our airplane was shut down. Along that axis, a whole lot of evils are happening. But then to a large extent, it looks as if there is a certain scheme to make sure that the military itself, assuming it has the willpower to engage this evil, is actually twisted. And why I saw a lot of hypocrisy in the case of Kaduna, it's quite unfortunate. I've always made my point clear. Nobody, no innocent soul should die, whether in an attack or in a reprisal. It doesn't matter. But I've asked myself, if actually we worry about human lives with regards to the one that happened in Kaduna, the way governors went and all of that, we have forgotten that there was a time the trio of Buhari, El-Rufai, and Burutai wasted about 1,000 Shiites in Zaria. Where was that sympathy from all of these people that were making it look like there are 50 lawyers or whether 500 are going to sue the federal government and all of that? And I think it's a good thing also if the military have inaccurate targets and they are taking out civilians, the people responsible for that should pay. And if you trace your history back, there was a similar attack, not a drone attack, but this time around a jet fighter that wiped out hundreds in a refugee camp in the Northeast. Now, how does this connect with the case of Plateau? Like I said, the United Nations, why would you not define this issue as what it is? Why would you not call this genocide? Why would you not call this a jihad? Why are you sticking and insisting on the lie that it is a farmer-herder clash? And why is it that each time any terrorist, and I will put it this way, any terrorist in the Middle Belt that runs out of luck, mark my words, somebody will tell you he's an innocent pastoralist. It has always happened. That was the prototype that El-Rufai used in Kaduna. You kill today, you kill tomorrow in Zangon Kataf, in Kafanchan, in Kajuru, you waste and waste and waste. Then one single day, perhaps there are some communities that have gotten tired of running away. The very day one of these attackers runs out of luck, before you know what's happening, he is there with the GOC, he is there with all the media houses and fabricating figures and shooting out all kinds of lies. I went on Google and I saw something like Adara Militia. And I'm wondering, a group of people that were wasted every day like chickens, killed and killed and killed. The ones killing them are not described as militia. It is the ones that are doing the mass burials of their brothers and their sisters that are described as militia. So you could see where the media is being used, and you could see why the international community keeps watching. And my fear is, if it's a misunderstanding, I hope they come to that understanding soon. But if it's deliberate, simply because either certain positions that are supposed to actually define what's happening are compromised in the whole of this thing, then possibly they are leading the country to a point of no return. And like I stated earlier, as far as the Middle Belt is concerned, it is in the mode of self-preserve, because we don't have an option. As Middle Belt, we have met every requirement, whether spiritually, whether morally, or constitutionally, to self-preserve. How much more do you deal with people that even defending themselves is a problem? In Kaduna, then, just the way it's happening on the plateau. On the plateau, it's even worse because they don't even arrest people who talk too much. They just kill them. Remember the case in Mongu when they killed almost 400. And they went there and found some vigilantes, a number of them, put them together and shot them. And then they were displaying their pictures. So the villagers in Mongu are seeing the military. They are pointing the direction where the attackers came. Chase them, but no. Our tanks are facing this community and we are telling them, bring your arms out or risk being killed. And at the end of the day, they did kill people and they are showing their names, their tribal names. And I'm wondering, with the den guns those people are holding, how is it possible to kill 400 people in a matter of hours? It just doesn't add up. And that's why I think I have a post where I said, we can't say the government is incompetent. Basically, at this point, we can look into the situation and ask the right question. Is this a policy to actually wipe out predominantly the Christian communities in the Middle Belt? Is it an APC policy and all of that? Of course, insecurity predates them. But definitely, I wouldn't know of a situation where a terrorist will be killed and then people will come out and take sides with him. But in Nigeria today, it's obvious. It's very clear. There is Sheikh Mahmoud Gumi, who is primarily placing demand on the government on behalf of terrorists, and he's moving around freely. So how do you get to deal with this? We need the international community to come in, and then the people may as well have to exercise their rights to self-preserve. You don't need anybody to give you the right to that. Animals have it, human beings have it, and all of that. So it's quite, pathetic. And the aggression in wanting to twist the narrative comes from the fact that the international community has already become interested in the whole thing. It was in Benue, and later it was in southern Kaduna, and all of that. And you keep asking yourself, if it's all about kettles, do the kettles not eat any grass other than the one in Christian communities? It just doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. And it's about, if it's about farmers and herders, is it only the middle belt people that have farms? It doesn't make sense. So somebody wants to continue an ancient barbaric practice of either killing people or subjugating them to just feel a sense of, fulfillment, which basically shouldn't be. But I don't know. Let me just hold it here, man, so I don't get too emotional about it. Yeah, that basically was the case I wanted to make with regards to, the United Nations. I don't know if it's a misinformation that goes to them or it's deliberate, that possibly they would, it's another Rwanda they want to supervise in Nigeria. I don't really know. And I'm saying that from the depth of my heart.
Thank you very much, Zari. I'm so grateful for that. So I had called a couple of people who were in Just East to find out what's up with the tweet I just got, and someone has confirmed that 2 people have been killed. One of them, I'm currently trying to direct him on how to unmute his on how to get his microphone, because he just messaged and said he just lost his uncle and the uncle's last child. Another person is from civil defense and he's currently on ground. Well, it's difficult to get him to speak now because obviously they're trying to find shelter, but they've been forwarding him messages that have been coming to their phones, and they're not even funny. Another person said that the situation has been contained, but people are still trying to run and the place is in shambles. So as soon as I get something from anybody on ground, I'm trying to help him to also unmute his mic. The person who said he lost his uncle and his last and the uncle's last child. I don't know if he's currently there, but he's on this space. He's just having a difficult time coming on to speak. So yeah, Chima, you can go ahead while I fix his.
Sorry, just a question. Is this the attack in Shere in East Use with 2 killed?
Yes, that is in Durbi, Shere district of Plateau State. The name of the place is Durbi district in Shere. The Shere now is the district, so the community or the locality is Durbi, Durbi. So it's in Just East local government.
Cool.
Yeah. So So while I help him, I'm trying to help him fix his mic. He said it's been telling him let's get to a second. So while I'm doing that, I think Chima, you can go ahead to speak, and then if I'm able to do that while you're on, I may just interrupt you for a bit and let him speak so he can go back to what he's doing.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, and thank you so much, my dear brother Zari. This has I like the way you speak the truth without fear. I also love the way you articulate it and make rational and reasonable arguments, and then you call up several anecdotes and in some cases facts to support your argument. But what some of the research work I've done, what I've found out, and this is not to disagree in any way with what you've said, but what I've found out is that the people we are dealing with are very coordinated. I don't believe that the United Nations has an interest in what is happening in the Middle Belt or in trying to take a side. What is happening is that obviously some people are paying heavily for lobby groups. And if you understand anything about how these big institutions work, there are people who understand the way they work. Even the kind of politics and lobby that go into them issuing press statements is a lot. And there are a lot of people who are consultants to these quote unquote terrorists. And those people fund lawyers, big names, big firms. They are on retainership with them, offering them lobby services, offering international platforms, the way it's. So So United Nations position on this issue is as a result of an active engagement of the sponsors of this thing we are discussing. And so if we are going to also find a way to alter that at that level, then those of us who are on the receiving end of this must also wake up to realize that, look, we can't wait for the world to come to us. If they don't come to us, we have to go to them. We have to present our case. We have to gather evidence the way the evidence threshold should be gathered. We have to reach out. We have to get our own lobbyists. We have to get also our own lawyers, our own consultants, and all of those things to engage those places. Even the process of getting any organization that does not seriously terrorize their, because look, if these organizations are terrorizing, for instance, American firms, they would have been declared a terrorist organization long ago. If it affects anything about, so then for you to get, for instance, the Department of State to designate an organization that does not directly terrorize them as a terrorist organization, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of lobbying, and so, you know, I've spoken with lawyers who had argued this issue as far as The Hague, and I've seen the papers they used to argue these issues, and they said that they were blindsided, that it was not even, they just went to Hague to make a presentation on what Zari just said now, and they were surprised. Not only do these people have lobbyists there, they even mobilize protesters to come and heckle them while they were speaking. This is how organized and detailed these people can be. That as Zari is speaking now, a lot of people are detailed to come and heckle him, to come and counteract what he's saying, to come and denounce what he's saying, to come and try to puncture the balloon. So if we understand this at this level, that this is, it takes a high level organization to be a criminal, actually. To sustain the kind of criminal enterprise these guys are doing, it takes a high level organization. So it's not something that individuals in their pockets or clusters can just come out and say, I no go agree, I no go agree, and it's solved. There has to be, yes, that component of it will be there, but then it has to be more organized. So the way I work is that I don't like giving all the credits to my enemies. I don't like giving all the power to them, because when I see myself as the victim, I have already yielded my power. I believe that they are succeeding because they have a superior strategy. And if we also want to outwit them, if we also want to protect ourselves, we must have superior strategy. And engaging everybody that needs to be engaged, the international community, the local community, they have a media strategy, like I keep saying. They have a media strategy. It's not a coincidence that Nigerian media keeps reporting this as former. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's not. And we must have another media strategy to understand what the issues are and then break them. If people can be going around, I've given you instances with mine, that sometimes when I rattle them a lot, they will just put a media blockade on me, that no traditional TV station. In fact, in one of the cases when we were fighting for the postponement of the census, I was live on television station. And when they invited me to come and speak to the issue about census, okay, it was about the elections. I asked them, are you sure you want me to come? They said, come. Are you sure? And then the guy that wanted to interview me had been covering INEC for more than 17 years. So he felt he knew about INEC. And I said, are you sure you want me to come on NTA? Because I know NTA is a pro-government platform. And they said, come. I was there 7 minutes into the program. They cut, it was a live program. They cut it off immediately. I started playing documentary of market women, and the way they yanked me out of the station. From then till now, I have never been invited by NTA again. Some people are interested in making sure that these stories are not heard, and they are serious about it. Like I've told you now, I was deliberate about what I said on Arise TV 2 or 3 days ago. Even if Arise TV does not invite me again, I have said what I wanted to say there, because I know that people will go around now to throw money around to begin to deplatform people. Thank God for X and for media platforms like this, that we can speak freely. If not, if it is left for traditional media alone, some of these people can be killed and nobody will hear of it. So what I'm saying is that we will have to gather again in our clusters to begin to discuss or design strategies that will get us the kind of results we hope to see. So thank you so very much for the work you do, Zari. And I think I will now bring up Plancards to make his submission. Plancards, could you please unmute your microphone and make your submission as we begin to wind down the Twitter spaces?
Yes. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Chima and Jane, for, making this happen and just proactively pushing for conversations like this to happen on platforms that people across the globe can tune in and listen to. Because as you have just reiterated, there are efforts that people have put into ensuring that voices of people in Plateau states and in neighboring states, especially within the Middle Belt region, are not heard regarding the violence they've been facing for decades. Honestly, I'm just going to make my own submission very brief, because I joined in here to kind of like support you and Jane in trying to provide some more context into or around what we're talking about. And that's why on the Jumbotron, if you see, I've been uploading a few tweets that kind of reference some of the contextual nuances that we might be missing to try to understand this story. So I think one of the things that I would just like to do is to say that based on what I've heard people say, on this platform and my friends from back in Jos Plateau State, I think everybody is really affected by this, right? Like everybody is affected, whether those that have lost family, friends, people close to them within their communities, and even those who are even outside Jos and Plateau State, and those that are not even from the regions where we are. And that's because, as people like to emphasize and most people ignore, this thing doesn't just end in Plateau State. Even, for example, in the next, if God forbid something happened and we say the whole state was overrun by these jihadists, it's not going to end in Plateau State. Like, it's just logical that it doesn't end there. And if our brothers in the east and our brothers in the west and down south to just fold their arms and think that this is a Plateau problem, or this is a Southern Kaduna problem, or this is a Taraba problem, or a Benue problem, then we are all in deep trouble across the entire country, right? That's the one thing I want to emphasize. The second thing I want to emphasize is the fact that this has been going on for a very, very long time. This didn't just start on the 25th of December, a few days ago, where 150 people were killed. In fact, one of the bloodiest massacres perpetrated by the Fulani jihadists actually happened around 2010. And that is like 13 years ago, where over 500 people were killed across several communities in one night. Over 500 people, mostly women and children. I remember this very clearly because my mother's village was affected. Her stepbrothers and her cousins mobilized to chase out the jihadists after they had attacked and continuously killed people for hours. And after they successfully tried to, curb their attack from spreading across other parts of their communities, the military forces came, the CID came, and they arrested the people that were trying to protect their own communities, and they locked them up for months and years. I heard Dong speak about how one of his uncles was locked up in the CID detention center. And this brings back memories about how my own uncle was locked up with other cousins of my mother. Some of them died in detention. Some of them were admitted into hospitals after detention and they died afterwards. But we would never hear stories about these Fulani jihadists being locked up and tried and convicted. And I'm not going to mince words and say, oh, it is some people, it is these people, we are not profiling. No, it is clear the people who are perpetrating this act, at least majority of them are, number one, from the Fulani ethnicity. Number two, they are perpetrating what is motivated by religious leanings. We, the commoners, know this. Even the elite knows this. I just put up a tweet by a governor that's a member of the elite, right, in Nigeria, saying that these crimes, and he's talking about the ones perpetrated in his own state, are committed.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. So, Mr. Bullis, you see, I want him to just speak briefly because he's kind of mourning. So, Mr. Bullis at Sen, can you please hear me? At Sen, can you please hear me? Can you unmute your mic? All right. Good evening. Yeah, good evening. I understand you said you just lost someone right now due to the attack.
Yes, that's true.
Can you please confirm their names? What are their names, please?
Kaze
Okay.
Arin, Baba Kaze Adaze Arin, brother.
Okay. What is, and then his own child? Is it his biological son?
Yes, his biological, the last son actually. The last child.
Okay. What is the last child's name?
His name is Itse Kaze.
Okay. Please, where are they from?
They're from Durbi.
Yes.
In Shere district of Just East.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any other information on this, on the attack that is currently ongoing? Is it still on?
Well, from the information I got,
yes,
it wasn't ongoing as at the time that I was informed. But as you all know, when something like this happens, it's always a precursor to something much more bigger than we can all imagine. So as I speak with you right now, it's even difficult for you to mourn because you're thinking of those that are alive, those that are in the village. And you're just wondering how the night will turn out, and you just don't know what to think about.
Please, where are you at the moment?
I'm not in the village actually. I'm not there.
Okay, all right. So,
Bulus, my sympathies, please, on your loss. Could you describe what happened in your village this evening, according to the information you get?
Well, from the information I got, my uncle and my cousin were at home. Other people had left. I don't know where they had gone to, but they were the two people that were at home. Those in the surrounding area had gunshots. And by the time they got home, they went to the house. They found both of them in the pool of their blood. It is just sad for us as a family. Unfortunately, this is not the first that this will happen. My father was among those who were killed in 2001, the very first crisis of September 7th, 2001. So this kind of comes with quite a lot of trauma, and the future seems so uncertain. It has always been uncertain anyway. I mean, we've been following all that has been happening in Riom, Barkeladi, Bokos, Mangu, Shandam at the time. Some of us have dedicated much more than our time and our resources calling on the government to do the needful, right? And it was clear that everyone has to take his fate into his own hands. And it's so unfortunate, it's so depressing as a Nigerian that you cannot rely on the government to do what it is statutorily empowered to do. And just as a particular speaker was talking earlier on, I was trying to see how I could get my mic activated, and he talked about the need for every citizen to defend himself. I think we've been telling ourselves lots of lies, and that has kind of dampened or blurred our reasoning that we are not able to do what is necessary for ourselves as humans first. The lie we tell ourselves that it is the responsibility of government to protect lives and properties. I think that lie has been debunked so many times, but we don't want to change our perspective. I don't know if I'm talking like this because I'm emotional this night, but I think we need to review a lot of things. We need to review a lot of things. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much for honoring the request, and our heartfelt condolences to you and other people in the community. And then also, I believe that this regard here has escalated this, and people have also tried to escalate this to see we get the attention of, the lethargic government officials. And then we're also praying for your community, especially what tonight might bring, and then in the nights to come. So please accept our condolences. All of us are indeed saddened with what is happening. And your story here, I believe, will inspire all of us to continue the work we are doing with even greater zest to make sure that all efforts to bring these things to a halt is put in. Thank you so much, and my condolences once again.
Thank you.
Bulus. Jane, back to you, please.
All right,
And then remember, I think we cut short. It was Plankart's
yes,
interview that was cut short.
yes, I was going to call Plankart. I'm so sorry, I had to cut you short. His network had a glitch, so I think he even had to go somewhere where he could talk properly. So I didn't want to waste much time since he was mourning and all that. So please, you can continue.
Oh no, I totally understand, because he reached out to me also, and I tried to help him fix that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bulus and everyone who shared their stories about how they've been personally affected by these attacks, I want to extend my condolences to you all and your families. And this is very heartbreaking, not just for people who are still back home in Jos and Plateau State, but like pretty much everyone across the globe, because it really touches close to home. And before I think where I stopped the last time was just talking about straightening out some clear facts and figures. And this is not just things that we just pull out of thin air. Like, these are things that have been corroborated, things that have been stated clearly, right? And one of the things that I said is, without mincing words, we know that majority of these attacks have been perpetrated by people of the Fulani ethnicity. And we know that they have religious motivations that is guiding them towards doing this. And we also understand, based on the modus operandi that we see, this is a land grabbing form of genocide. It's not just we want to kill the people, but we want to also kill the people, inhabit their lands, and take over their resources. And that is why some of the lands that have been taken over in the last few decades, as we have seen, are lands that are fertile, or lands that are very, very rich in mineral resources. I wouldn't want us to continue, trying to mask what this truth is. Like, if the elites, like Governor Masari, is saying clearly, as a governor, saying that he knows that these people are majority Fulani people, I do not think that we as common people should shy away from reiterating that truth. We have heard T.Y. Danjuma, quote and unquote, one of the owners of Nigeria. We call them one of the owners of Nigeria because they have been at the topmost positions in Nigeria. They have ruled the country directly and indirectly, and they still hold a large chunk of resources that is used to control this country. And we have heard T.Y. Danjuma, he himself, a retired military personnel, say that even the military collude with these militants. The military themselves are complicit. And I've also put up a video on the Jumbotron where you see military officers with Fulani militia holding AK-47s, and one of the military personnel is telling his other colleagues, is announcing to his other colleagues that Fulani people are coming to pass and no one should do anything to them. He was saying it in Hausa. If you doubt my interpretation, you can ask anybody who speaks Hausa clearly. It is up on the Jumbotron. They are there with their AK-47s and their bikes, and the military personnel is telling his other colleagues on the phone they should allow these people to pass, and they should not interfere in their business. We know that the government is complicit. We know that the military is complicit. The question is, how do we ensure that we are solving a problem that is capturing the reality of today, which is that we are on our own? We have seen a situation where people, for example, in Mangu local government and even across Jos, try to arm themselves, form vigilante groups to protect their communities, sleep in farmlands and on top of mountains like George Lambert is doing. But the military themselves will threaten people that are trying to defend themselves, threaten them with death, and force them to submit their arms. The little Dane guns that they have to fight people coming to attack them with AK-47s, they seize those Dane guns, they take their machetes and cutlasses and make them vulnerable for different types of attacks. I think that as we are charting, this path towards trying to find a solution for ourselves and our people for the survival of our civilization, we must always never forget the reality that the government is not on our side, the military personnel is not 100% on our side, and we must form a solution that is very, very people-centric, and a solution that is definitely going to work based on our realities. So again, as I said earlier, I was just up here to support Jane and Chima, but I'm really, really happy that I still have this opportunity to speak. I would urge people who are listening to help us share these stories. This is a plea. This is a plea. For me, it is a plea. I am telling you that we are not fully supported by our own government and our own military, and they allow us to be vulnerable and get massacred on a daily basis. And we are seeing this consistently. We are pleading to people who are listening to this, whether you're in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, help our voices to be heard. Help us to come up with a solution that is very, that is going to be people friendly, that is going to be indigent friendly, and that's going to help us to protect our people, because all the solutions we've been applying for over a decade have not worked. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Jane, I want to put you on the spotlight here. And I know we didn't discuss this, but I felt it's important part of the conversation. Because
okay, sorry, before you do that, sorry, I have someone here. He's from the Hunters Association. I just placed the call with him. He cannot be on Twitter, obviously, but
okay,
he has good information on what has happened. I will just put the phone on speaker and let him speak. I hope we can get info. So sir, please, can you just go ahead, please? We can hear you.
Okay, ma. Greetings to everyone over there.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, my name is Mr. Arim Azvi,
okay,
the welfare officer for Professional Hunters Association of Plateau State.
Okay.
Who happen to be an indigenous of that area.
Okay.
And residing at that area.
Okay.
That's Shere district.
Okay.
By around 8 p.m. we got an information that attackers have attacked the community. So in the process, 2 people of the community were affected as they were killed.
Okay.
And one of the attackers was also killed.
One of the attackers was also killed. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So and that was done by the effort of some of my members whom are professional hunters.
Okay.
That were there present before the information reached the security, the government security. So right now the government security, but the police arrived at area earlier before the soldiers on motorcycles followed. So as at now, the situation is a bit calm because there is no gunshot.
Okay.
And the corpses has been taken away by the police to the appropriate destination.
Okay. Okay.
And right now, the remaining security officers and then on motorcycles and some of my hunters members plus vigilante members also, they are at the point of the incident now.
Okay, so please, how were the 2 people killed? Was it gunshot or was it slaughter?
It was gunshot. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much, sir. I would call you maybe much later, maybe tomorrow morning, most likely. I'll call you and I'll try to follow up. But just in case you hear anything, please, you can just reach out. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so Chima, you wanted to put me on the spotlight. I'm back.
Yeah.
He has called. I had called the Hunters people to try to find out from them what was happening, and he called back. So I needed to put him on speaker so that I would hear what he was saying.
That's beautiful. So you see, So as we try to conclude the program, I wanted to ask, because there are people here who appreciate your boldness. There are people here who appreciate the risk you're taking. And when you're doing this, a lot of people imagine that perhaps you're not in the country, that you're in a safe haven somewhere doing this. But then let me ask you, what are the risks you face daily? And what are the threats you receive in trying to do what you do? And do you live in Nigeria? Do you live in the Middle Belt? And let's talk about the risks you face.
So about where I live, I would honestly leave that undisclosed, because I'd rather not disclose that, because I have had a lot of threats with regards my security and all that. But I have, well, surprisingly, I have not gotten any messages, texts. I have not gotten any DMs. Unlike, I mean, even the last time I got a couple of DMs, but this particular one, I have not had any DMs so far. What I have had rather is, of course, them posting my picture and saying meet the bigots, all that season, that all those jokes that they're making, because I really don't know what to call them except for jokes. And then I think one person posted my parents' picture on one of the comment sections to say, oh, these are her parents. A childhood picture of mine, actually. I am guessing they got it from Facebook. So yes, posted my childhood picture. Well, not childhood, maybe when I was 13 or 14, with full of youthful exuberance, and then my parents' picture. So it was like posted like two pictures, my parents and then the other one. So it means they made efforts. And then secondly, I was on his space a couple of days back, and then the person that was there specifically said something about the location where I was at, and he said, oh, he knows I'm not even in the country. And then he said the country he thought I was. So I knew that they were already on the lookout for me. So yes, apart from those two, and then I think another person made a tweet about me being a medical student, and then there were of course calls for, oh, seize her license, and all that. Also, I got some phone calls from some doctor friends of mine on WhatsApp and other platforms saying that they were places where when they knew that, oh, they knew me. Like, I mean, when the killings in particular come up and my name comes up, a particular set of people now would say, how can they just kill the girl already because she's making too much noise on Twitter, and all that. Or some would say, of course, they admire whatever it is I'm doing. So I've gotten all those I've had people call to say specifically, I am in a place where I can hear them having a conversation about you, and I think you should just be careful. So far, I think that those, what I've heard, also all the threats are more from a distance. Either, okay, yeah, people have called my parents, actually. People have called my father, people have called my mother, a couple of our friends that are on Twitter. My aunt has called because she's on Twitter. Some of my cousins who we share the same surname. Yes, and then people that we look alike with, like my younger sister, for example, has had to threaten me to say, please, we share the same face, so don't get me making trouble, because it means that even I am at risk, and all that. So, but that was on a lighter note. Typically, all the threats have come from a distance. I've not gotten any phone call yet. I've not gotten any text. I've had people call to say they saw my picture on Twitter all over the place, saying that they should, someone has offered good. There's even a bounty, I heard. I've not seen the tweet, but I heard there's a bounty. Somebody offered 50,000 naira to, wherever, if whoever can find wherever it is I'm practicing medicine, they should please, reach out to them. Somebody else has offered, I think they said 100,000 naira. Me, I'm wondering why they're offering small money like this so poor. Anyway, on another lighter note, so I think pretty much that's just the general base of what I've been through so far. So yeah, those are the risks I've had to put myself.
Why I asked the question is to make this point that I'm inviting Nigerians, starting from the people on these spaces who are listening to us, to find ways to democratize activism or advocacy. I mean, people like strong persons, people like individuals who are bold and courageous. But then at some point, they leave them dry. They leave them without support. And there is only little you can do with the resources you have. There's only so much your grace and I see the way you're trying to minimize these things and you wave it off as nothing. And well, people are hearing all of this, but these are real. And believe me, the kind of people we're dealing with can go to any length whether they reach out to you to tell you beforehand or not tell you beforehand. So my call is for people here to reach out to Jane and see how you can support the work she's doing, see how you can support her, the advocacy work, see how you can pitch in to support the efforts she's making, see how we can democratize this activism so that we can collectively come together to fight this. If we are fighting as just one Jane, any day anything happens to her, but God forbid, then this thing dies. So reach out. I am not also a person that will share the risk we face with the things we do. I remember in one of the last trips less than 2 months ago, how I nearly died in a village that was just attacked. And it was when I came back that I was just Googling to see why that happened. And I found out that they had killed a lawmaker close to where I was. And it was so jarring. I didn't even do the risk assessment before going. But so you see, the work we do is very risky. That's why, and then even Zari and all of this. So if you are hearing us and you can reach out to Jane, please find ways to understand what her advocacy and her platform is doing. Some of them she will not be able to share on Twitter for discernible reasons. But then when you see something happening on the surface, usually there's a lot of momentum going on there. That's the point I wanted to make, even as we draw a close to this, so that we don't just come here and rant and talk and do things without people knowing that, look, there are a lot of serious work going on there and they can be a part of that work. So that will be my call. This regard, I don't know if you have your closing statements before I pass the mic back to Jane to see if she wants to admit more participants or she wants to make her closing statement.
Sure, just 2 minutes very quickly. I wanted to mention that when you want to bring attention to this problem internationally, it's very good if you can provide names, photographs of people who are victims. Of course, we just heard here from a family member who had victims, but those of you who are online and you have information about these crimes taking place, if you have access to names, photographs, and their families are okay with sharing this, please make sure to put it out there online, and other people will join in sharing. It always is easier when you can put a name and a face to a victim. So it's not just numbers that 4 people were killed here, 5 people were killed here. These are people with names, faces, and also stories. We want to hear who they were, what happened when the attack took place. So this is all very important. Another thing is that people don't know Nigeria well abroad. So whenever you can also provide maps of where these attacks have been happening, where these villages are, where these cities are, this is all also very important. Finally, last thing, there is a gentleman, Bolan Lee, A4, Bolanle, A4, who apparently is planning some form of protest march in London. I would suggest that if you have any friends living in London, if you know this gentleman, try to organize something in the coming days while this topic is still on people's minds. Even if it is only 100 people that show up, it will make the news, certainly. We also have friends in the UK that I'm sure that they will be very happy to share the news. So any kind of action in London would be a great idea. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so just as a closing remark, this is just a very brief disclaimer. I think that if we want to lay any contribution, I would appreciate very much if we can just always hashtag whatever we're hashtagging and repost and tag as many international communities as we can. That will go a very long way, because the ultimate goal that we're hoping to achieve is to have as much attention drawn to what is happening in the Middle Belt and right now Plateau State as possible. So please, that is the one thing I want to plead for. As much as you see us tweeting about an attack in 1 or 2 places, if we were going to be on a Twitter space 24/7, you can literally listen to phone calls that we listen to. It is heartbreak after heartbreak. In an entire day, you receive at least 10 heartbreaking messages of somebody being dead somewhere, and the dead tolls just keep increasing. Right now it's 100. 5 more have died in this village. Sir, Mr. Bulus Aten, I see you're still here. please help us reach out to, well, it's your family now that is affected. So please help us get the picture of your uncle and his son, the ones who were killed, so that we can make tweets about it and start properly documenting. I will reach out to the Dagom in Barking Ladi to send us proper documents of people who were killed in that locality. Same thing for Boko, and same thing for Mango, where we would reach out to them, and then get information from them about the killings that are going on there, and then how they can also send us names of people, so that names and pictures to work on. But please, in the meantime, hashtag and repost. I don't think any financial implication should be considered. Okay, well, for the Middle Belt, of course. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. There's a GoFundMe for the Middle Belt. I think it's handled by, I don't know. Patience, are you here? I don't know. I don't have the link, please. But I'll tweet it. I'll reach out to Patience and Samantha. I think they are the ones that have been handling the GoFundMe account. I'll reach out to them and I'll tweet about it. That would specifically be for whenever because I know last time there was a Shillong here, right? Yeah, there was an outreach in Mangu where they bought food stuff and all that are meant to give to people that are there. So if any contribution would come, please direct it to the Middle Belt GoFundMe. I don't have the account number now. I don't have the link now. I will make a tweet about it immediately after this space. I'll request for it and I'll make a tweet about it. Other than that, I think that I should be good in any other aspect. I think that is my contribution for the cause, for the Middle Belt, for Plateau State. Yes, pretty much. I think that should be it. Like I said earlier, okay. I think one person wants to speak. Black Boy, let's speak for 3 minutes, and then I think we can close the space. Black Boy, can you speak briefly, please? Okay, he's connecting. I just accepted now. Like I said earlier, I'm not accepting any other person to speak. I honestly cannot verify people that are requesting and want to speak. So I'm not giving anybody the mic. Today was about us telling our stories, and we have done that, and the world has heard it, and we're going to keep doing that. So most of our spaces, especially hosted by us, will be us bringing people on board to physically come and tell the stories, bringing the international community to hear them, and bringing all of you to listen to the stories. If you have any comments, kindly comment on our on the space that we've tweeted, and we would see you. If you can reach out to us personally, we've had people who have reached out for different contributions. I cannot begin to mention them here because some of them are security tight and I can't say them here, but whatever you can do, we're grateful. Whatever you have been doing, we're grateful. And Black Boy, can you speak now?
All right, thank you, Jane. Hi, good day or good evening, everybody. Well done, a big well done to everybody. All the contributions were very positive and very wonderful. Okay, so I just wanted to say, as someone that was very active during the NSAS peaceful march, I know what that did for the whole movement. So I had someone just say now that they are planning like a march in London. And I personally think that if London is planning like a match, the least just can do is also have like a match. So I personally feel like it will go a long way. I know we're talking a lot online, also offline. If you can have like a peaceful match in Jos, it will actually go a long way, because I promise you there are lots of people that are in Jos, that are in like the community in Jos. I don't know what's happening in these villages, and that's going to be a form of awareness to them, and also to know that we stand with these people that these things are happening to. So I think I'll have like, for those of us in Jos that are on ground, I think I'll just talk to one or two people that are available to see what we can put up as soon as we can. So if we can have the match the same day that's happening in London, so we can have like while we have our online noise, we also have it offline, because trust me, it is very, very important. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
I will just add quickly here then. It is January 10th, I just find out. So January 10th is the protest in London.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so this is a special gratitude to Visa Grant. Thank you so much. He literally messaged me and said he's been seeing the post, he's been seeing everything, and he thinks he's not getting enough international coverage as it should be getting, and he was willing to, come and listen. He's been here since 7:30 on the dot. This is almost 5 hours, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sorry, I'm using my fingers to still count. So yeah, that's like 4 hours literally that he's been here for. He's not left for 1 second. He's been here listening, and I'm sure he's taking notes. He's tweeted about the Derby Shere attack already, and I'm very sure even before some of our Nigerian news, media outlets and all that. So we're very grateful for taking this upon yourself to reach out to us, even without us reaching out to you, and to be intentional about our cause. We're very grateful. It's not taken for granted, and we hope that we can continue to keep in touch and keep sharing our story with you. Or Chima, that should be all, right? So that I can end the space and then we can have a good night rest. Like I said earlier, please, I'll make tweets about the GoFundMe if there's any right now. I know that they kept trying GoFundMe, and I know the last time we spoke they said it kept crashing. I don't know why, but I think that is one thing. That's the last thing I know about it. If there's any, I would tweet it. There's none, then I won't, and I'll probably ask them to get another one. And if there's a GoFundMe and the monies are donated, at the end of the day, I would make sure I let them both know every single dime that comes in will be accounted for. Whatever is being bought with the money to support the guys in Barkinladi, Bokos, Mangu, and now Just East will be accounted for and will be posted from my handle and Middle Belt Times handle, so that you see what your monies are being used for. Yes, I think I owe everyone that level of accountability. So yes, I would tweet about the contributions. If there's an account, I will do that, and I hope that we can all contribute. Thank you so much to the many of you that have been here. We're super grateful. Thank you, Patrick Anum, for taking your time. Thank you, Plankat. Zari, you are a star. Thank you so much. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Visa Grand. My co-host, rather, Chima. Thank you so much. So do have a lovely night rest, and we are super grateful. Good night, everyone.
All right, well, that's the end of that. I'll be back in the next, I think, 15 minutes or so. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rita.